What's up, everybody? We got people in the room already. Y'all already giving it up. Coop, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Uh, legacy building, brand building, in the building.
That's what it's about, man. Fantasy 731 says, "Do you guys think Magic 2 will drop next year?" We getting into it, huh? I don't know.
It's
I mean, I know Nas said
probably
something. Did you see the behind the scenes footage? I guess when he heard the beat that Hit Boy made for the record with him
hmm
and 21 Savage, where he was like,
hmm
we got a chokehold on the rap game right now.
hmm
Yeah. I don't know what that means other than, what they've already done. I don't know if that means anything for the future, but I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of that today because there's a lot of music to talk, man. You know what? I'm excited though, man. Shout out to everybody coming in the room. What's up? What's up? What's up? Did you see that trailer that Metro Boomin put out there?
hmm
Look, I'm excited for this album. That shit was hard. I watched that shit like 3 times.
He need to do some shit, Mike, because Hit Boy out here stunting on everybody.
So, see, look, you're. I was thinking about this on the ride home. I was like, yo, I know Coop got Hit Boy. I still think Metro is the best producer of this era. We might have to Patreon this one up.
He was the best producer of this era, Mike. He was until the last 2 years happened. That is the thing with hip hop, Mike.
Would
It's
you?
like you're talking about what used to exist before King's Disease 1, 2, 3, and Magic existed. That was true before those four bodies of work existed. That's not true anymore.
Would you like the Patreon that one?
Yes, I would, because I can play King's Disease and Magic.
You
It's just
can.
like Daniel's son, wax on, wax off.
Jay
I did
Short.
a station head the other day, Mike, where I just played 21 records from the King's Disease trilogy on top of just the 21 and Nas records. So I played 22 records altogether. I mean, Mike, you would have thought 7 or 8 different producers was on them 21, 22 tracks. You
It's very
really would have
impressive.
thought that.
It's very impressive. Now I will give you that. Jay Short with the super chat says, "Sorry I missed last week. Did you miss Cuban Link 2 and Pretty Girls Like Trap Music on your 2000s 10 list?"
We,
Okay. Well, unfortunately, those
we
weren't
missed
able
the
to
purple
make
tape
it.
too, and we acknowledge that.
Now, this is what I will say. What we did miss is we missed Jesus Pieces, and
We
something
missed
has to
Jesus
go.
Piece from 2010.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like for one
Bro,
that we missed, something's got to go.
I concur. You see, but here's the problem, and I keep saying this. This is like
Features.
so. I'm going to tell you what I did. I actually just went to the year 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I mean. It's like we're probably just going to have to go five by the year, Mike.
Okay.
And here's why. Just in 2000, well, you got Supreme Like Water for Chocolate and Stankonia right there in 2000.
Yeah. I mean,
That's that's
I
three. That's three of your 15 right there. Like maybe if it's not three of your 10, it's definitely three of your 15 right there.
hit the like button, everybody. Yeah. Rigor Raw says hit the like button, hit the like, share, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We're trying to get to that 20,000. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
We're
the
gonna get to 20.
2000s, in my personal opinion, it was a pivotal moment. It's kind of like 2020 in a sense where it shifted gears from the 90s into that next era. I mean, and that was the time that we got 106 in Park. That's when 106 in Park launched. That's the change. That changes things. Radio changed in the year 2000. I mean, I'll give it to Luda and Nelly. They changed the way hip hop singles were being put out in that
Well,
era,
here's
and everybody kind of had to follow, with the exception of Eminem. He could still do what he was doing.
here's what I would submit to you is that 2000 is a funny but kind of still glorious time because it's one of those years where you see everything exist in hip hop.
Yeah.
Like, and here's what I mean. Like, there's Nelly with EI and Big Timers with Number One Stunner, but
Hmm.
there's also Big L with Ebonics. There's Ghostface making the album of the year in Supreme Clientele. There's Common somewhere in the middle of doing all those things on Like Water for Chocolate. There's 3 6 with Sipping on Some Scissor. You
And you
know,
got the West
there's
Coast revived because of 2001 dropping. And
Right,
I
but
mean, it was in
2001
late
was 99.
'99.
But I think Quick's album Balance and Options.
But no, it was
Balance,
in late '99, so all the singles were hitting in 2000.
yeah, you're
Like, so
right. They
it
own
dropped in like
2000. No,
November of
no,
'99.
you're right. But
Yeah,
as far as the stuff that was released in 2000,
yeah,
Quick came out with Balance and Options in 2002, if memory serves.
right. And I feel like did Restless come out in 2000 also?
Yes,
Yeah.
Restless is
So it's like,
2000
yeah,
as well.
that door that 2001 opened for the West Coast, it was just flooded. Because I think it came out the same day that Corrupt dropped Streets of Mother, which was at the end of that year too, which carried over to 2000.
But everybody was winning in 2000, is what I'm saying. It didn't matter if
Yeah.
you were from the South or the Midwest or the West or the East Coast. In 2000, the game had opened up and become a type of avenue for everybody to win.
I think the 2000 is kind of like that year Michael Jordan played baseball, where everybody felt like, yo, I got a shot. And everybody was
Well,
seeing who was going to be that next thing. I think in 97, the game was in disarray because of Big. And in 98, DMX took it, to be perfectly honest. DMX and Jay. And in 2000, it was like the game was kind of up for grabs.
I think much like when Mike left, the best player from the best team won the ring, Ghostface Supreme.
Well, I
what
was
I'm
going to
saying?
ask you, who would you say, and you're probably going to say Ghost, but let's just say, like, from an overall standpoint, who is hip hop's MVP of 2000, in your opinion?
I mean, a lot of people would say that's Common's MVP season because of like Water for Chocolate and because of what The Light did and what he is still doing as a lyricist on that album, like with The Sixth Sense, with Thelonious. You know, like he's a Song for Asada. Like, no, he's still a premier lyricist. And now he's somebody that's making quality, what I would say, core hip hop records like The Sixth Sense, but the crossover hit record, a la You Got Me with The Light, you know? So he's somebody that probably from a commercial standpoint would be our MVP, but also the Marshall Mathers LP came out in 2000. So the consensus opinion is going to go towards Eminem.
I was going to mention that, and what I would say to that is, you know, listen, the numbers are what they are. I've gone on this diatribe before on this show, but if you were actually around in 2000, you understand that hip-hop outlets weren't playing the Marshall Mathers LP. The success from the Marshall Mathers LP came from CHR Radio, which is Contemporary Hit Radio, and MTV, TRL, like outlets that didn't particularly play hip-hop records unless you had a massive crossover single, like a Give It To Me or Big Pimpin' or Back That Ass Up or Country Grammar. Like, you would have to have that kind of hip-hop single to make it on TRL. The Light's not seeing TRL. Shay Shay Lagos is not seeing TRL. Honestly, Bonzo the Bad Dad, I don't feel like even saw TRL. It was more of the Miss Jacksons.
Well, in fairness to that sentiment, then we would have to focus our attention to Nelly. And here's why I would say Nelly, because Ja Rule's going like double, triple that year with Cry Together and Between Me and You and all of that. And so is Luda with What's Your Fantasy and Southern Hospitality.
Yeah.
But, you know, those guys are going double, triple now. Nelly, on the other hand, is going 6 or 7.
And I'm going to keep
He's going
it real.
6 or 7. So numbers-wise, he's competing with him. And
yeah, and you know what?
I don't know about you. I was personally playing the shit out of some EI and Ride With Me.
Oh, definitely. And they were getting played on hip hop radio and hip hop outlets and crossover radio. One thing that Nelly said one time, and he should pat himself on the back because this is one of the few times ever we've seen this in hip hop. Might have been the only time. He did all of that, did all of those numbers out the gate with no cosign, no crazy features on his album. And coming from a city where nobody had ever heard an MC come out of before. That's crazy.
Degree of difficulty.
Because if you sit there and look at Marshall Mathers, you know, you got Dre. You look at 50, he had M and Dre.
Dre.
Yeah. So if you talk about people who did those kind of numbers, you had hella cosigns. And at the time, I know it's revisionist history, but in 2000 on Cash Money, Juvenile was the guy. Nelly didn't even get Juvenile for that. He got Wayne.
Ja Rule had Irv.
Yeah. And the Def Jam Machine. Mm-hmm. You know, we got. Hold on one second. a show, people. I'm doing a show. Let me go ahead and put my phone on block. Airplane mode, rather. But Chiefman says, what's up with the podcast? No episodes since 11/17. Oh, we'll upload those on. We're trying to get people to watch the YouTube channel real quick. You know what I'm saying? We'll make sure we get those on Apple.
What did he say?
BC,
what did he say?
He said that none of the podcasts have been uploaded onto like the streaming platforms as of late. I think the last one that we did was the episode after, King's Disease 3 dropped. BCMD Dub with the super chat says, I've been riding for y'all on Twitter, bros. I appreciate that. We need that, man, because, these Eminem stands have been killing me specifically. Awkward super chat says, what about the Blue and Exile Below the Heavens in the 2000s? I fought for it, man. Coop was like, nah. I fought for Below the Heavens. I did.
It's not going to make the cut.
36 Chambers says, where do y'all stand on the Ecstatic for the 2000s? Auditorium is a classic and the album is fantastic. I love that album. Priority is my joint. One of my favorite Mos Def joints, or Yasin Bey joints, but I don't know as a whole if that album's going to make it.
Classic? Did he say it was a classic?
Blue Collar Hustle says, doesn't Outkast get MVP consideration in 2000 with Stankonia? Triple platinum, nominated for Album of the Year, singles everywhere. Stankonia is a very interesting dichotomy because, again, it set off the new era. It's, for a lot of people, it's their most heralded effort as a group. But for the core fans, it's their weakest effort. But it also has probably one of their best songs and their biggest songs on it. It's a very weird album.
Yes, because Bombs Over Baghdad is definitely one of their best songs.
I agree with that.
Miss Jackson and So Fresh So Clean are two of their biggest songs, probably 1 and 2.
I think Miss Jackson might be their biggest song.
Yeah, hit-wise, yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
And I would tell you So Fresh So Clean is probably number 2, Mike.
You think so? I don't think So Fresh So Clean is that high. I think that...
What's higher?
I think that, I think it might be higher than Rosa Parks is probably higher.
Nah.
Rosa Parks was a hit.
Nah, it didn't get more play than So Fresh So Clean.
Really? Rosa Parks gets a lot of play. I think...
I would beg to differ.
Damn, that's crazy when you think about it. And I'm not trying to play Cask, obviously, but a lot of their songs were just really big hits to me. Like, I would say Elevators, but I think you may be right. So Fresh So
I would
Clean
say
might
Elevators
be
would be the one. I think Elevators was bigger than Rosa Parks in terms of the airplay, too, because I heard Elevators all over the radio. And I was between Charlotte and Atlanta that summer, and I heard Elevators all the time. And remember, I'll never forget when they were doing the Def Comedy Jam show that summer in L.A., and one of the comedians came out and had the audience singing the hook to Elevators, and they was in Cali, and that's when I knew Outkast was really about to blow. I was like, oh, Cali niggas singing Elevators? Like, oh.
That's
platinum.
A great hook, too, by the way.
Platinum. Yeah, it's one of rap's best hooks.
One of rap's best hooks. I'm with that. Dumb It Down says, Below the Heavens is definitely top 10. I'm with that. I think it is, too. I think it's the best hip-hop album of 07, but most people would say Graduation. Below the Heavens is great.
I'm going to go listen to Below the Heavens one more time.
Yeah, you got to go back and listen to Below the Heavens. I think when you think about Mad Villainy and what it did for the underground circuit, Below the Heavens is that same thing, just kind of the West Coast version a few years later. Jay Short with the Super Chat says, Mike, I was listening to Dark as Hell is Hot. DMX was a 5, but his production was just good. It was better than Flesh in My Flesh. Ready to Die production has classic sound and feel. Okay, and I saw that in the comment section too, and I think we can have one of these shows where we kind of just interacting with people and talking about previous stuff as well. But I'm with y'all. I'm okay with Ready to Die being over it, but see, I'm just saying it's not as easy as y'all think. You know what I mean? And I think that when we look at Ready to Die, we're skewed by the remixes, the bonuses, and we're not really looking at it as the album it is. It's really tough too, though. When you got songs like One More Chance out there, the remix, and Who Shot Ya out there that can be added on later, it kind of clouds your judgment.
I think you're affected by all the great material surrounding Ready to Die, post Ready to Die.
Exactly.
that's fair, but that's also kind of why Biggie Smalls is the illest. But
And he clearly got better after
oh
Ready
yeah,
to
he
Die.
clearly just keeps getting better as an MC.
Yeah.
What I would tell you is that if I was objectively rating these albums, without the bias of the field, and just that newness of watching Big become big, you know what I'm saying? Like I can remember Big's like Vibe article, like where he was just like wearing like some Carl Kanai jeans and like this like cruddy like purple shirt with the Timbs. You remember that? I was like, he's really like on the block, like still.
Grimy in the early 90s.
Yeah. Like objectively, I would put Ready to Die somewhere at like 12 all time on like my list objectively. I would probably have It's Dark and Hell is Hot like 17 or 18. So I would agree with you that it's not like there's some large gap, because I would tell you the gap between 12 and 18 is albums like Moment of Truth, Liquid Sword, Supreme Clientele. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that
so
makes
it's in that conversation. Like so if you're saying It's Dark and Hell is Hot, is that caliber album? No, I totally agree with you, because I think it's one of the 20 best pieces of work hip hop has ever made in terms of quality of album, the MC, the impact, the actual songs, the hit records, the classic nature, the classic feel. No, it checks all the boxes for a top 20 album. It has everything.
And the personal touch too, like the complicated artist and individual that we know of as Earl Simmons. He gives you all of that in that album.
And that's part of it. You have to feel like the artist is bringing you into their world, and for it to have that sort of impact. You know?
Feels like Kanye on College Dropout in that sense, where you feel like you know the artist listening to that.
Yeah. Like when you're listening to It Takes a Nation of Millions, it's like, no. You feel like Chuck D might slap the shit out of you if you say something bad about Farrakhan. Like, it's real.
Yeah. I mean, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and the versatility that he shows on there too. I mean, it just hit like an atom bomb. And it was one of those things where it was like the album, it did what Doggy Style did in a sense where these aren't supposed to be hit records.
No, okay.
You know what I'm saying? In an era
Me,
where...
I love Get At Me, Dog. Yeah. That's like one of the best leadoff singles ever. I told you like that. It Made You Look are my favorite first singles for artists to start off an album like ever, because it's like, oh, that's what you're dropping for your single? It's like, oh, yeah.
He didn't conform in any kind of way. And when he did some sort of, when he did conform in some sort of way, you got a record like How's It Going Down, which showed versatility. It didn't feel like, yo, X is on some soft shit. No, he showed that, look, I can make this shit too. Like, you tell me somebody who can make a Get At Me, Dog, Stop Being Greedy, a How's It Going Down, and a Rough Riders anthem.
Biggie Smalls.
I'm saying that's big shoes right there. And honestly, you know what? And I'm just going to be real. And obviously, X was a vet at this point. Biggie Smalls on Ready to Die, when it dropped, couldn't do that as seamlessly as he did on Life After Death. That's what makes Life After Death such a level up.
But you're comparing it to Life After Death. What you have to remember...
I'm comparing it to the One More Chance remix.
No, okay, no, that's not even fair, because what you, I think, are forgetting that in 1994, well, there wasn't another rapper other than Tupac that was capable of giving you something as hardcore as Gimme the Loot or Ready to Die, the song, and then turning around and even giving you a Big Papa or a Juicy.
I'll give you that.
So as far as the level that he was on, by the time X had reached that level, this is no disrespect to him, but other cats had stepped their game up and become more versatile. Jay and Nas specifically.
But
Mike,
one thing I will give X.
Let me finish. So what you're talking about, like, you have to understand. The reason that motherfuckers leveled up, Mike, is because they heard what Big did on Ready to Die.
I agree.
So you're really understating Big on Ready to Die. Gimme the Loot has the voice change that Stop Being Greedy does, and Big Papa and Juicy are just as affable as How's It Going Down. You know what I'm saying? So he's right there.
Okay. All right. And again, he leveled the game up for everyone. I'm just saying, in X's era, after 97, after things got very shiny, even for Nas and Jay, he was able to bring it back to the dirt. And then still do what everybody else was doing.
No, that was part of the impact. Mm-hmm. But you have to understand that part of the reason why he had to snatch it is because Big took it out of everybody's hands.
No, you're right.
And he ran with it. And it literally, and what he was doing literally ran its course after he was gone until DMX popped up and did what he did. You understand? Like Big was gone and what he was doing was still running its course.
Christopher Hogan with the super chat says, what about Buck straight out of Cashville, Young Buck in 2004?
I have that pretty high. I that's the best album out of G Unit's camp outside of Get Rich or Die Trying to me.
I think so too.
Yeah, because I don't really count the documentary as part of G Unit's camp, do you?
Nah, I kind of don't. But I guess we should. Ray Realms with the super chat says, this effing Goofy is obviously a part of these coordinated attacks against Nas. Be careful of who sits on the couch and says 2 words in your studio. I think he's talking about, we got to talk about that too, the ghostwriting thing, because I know people want to talk about that. Kendall Outlaw says, the way you move was bigger than So Fresh, So Clean. Okay, technically, but that's kind of a big boy song.
That was Hey Ya, but we don't count that. That's not Outkast.
That's kind of solo stuff. Yeah, Mad Max in the super chat says, Ready to Die ain't as dark and hell is hot. Rough Riders Anthem is better than any song on Ready to Die. So stop being greedy. Like Get Out of 94. 36 Chambers of the super chat says, Hey Y'all is the biggest song Cass ever released. That leaps barriers and is everywhere. Saw someone get married to the track being played. You know what? That's an Andre song. This is the thing. And I remember
it's a big boy song.
I remember Andre getting on. They actually did press separately for this album too. But I remember he was on Greg Street show. I think he was with his mom or talking. Yeah, I think his mom was on air too. Rest in peace. And I remember Andre saying that the label LaFace, they said, look, these are 2 separate albums, but we're going to package it as an Outkast album because the Outkast brand is bigger than both of you guys individually.
Because you ain't did no solo albums.
In 2003, that was the truth. And I kind of got the notion that Dre wanted it to kind of be packaged individually, but the label said no. I mean, I don't remember word for word how the conversation went, but it felt like that, where it was like, yeah, this is solo work, but it's just packaged like this for branding purposes, basically. So saying all that to say, I'll say Hey Guys is an Andre 3000 song. I can't say that's an Outkast song. I don't think that's fair to him or Big Boy to say that they're individual works just because it was packaged by a label under the Outkast brand is an Outkast song. Is that fair?
I mean, for me, it's more than fair, but what say the people,
I don't even count Speakerboxxx Love Below as an Outkast album, and I think
not at all.
And I think if we want to add it in the Outkast discography, I have to split them up, and then that would make me do Aquemini, Southern Playalistic, ATLiens, Love Below, Stankonia, Speakerboxxx.
I'll still. You want to know what? When I first heard the Love Below, I thought it was better than Stankonia, but I actually think Stankonia is held up better than the Love Below, with the exception of about 4 or 5 songs.
I'm not mad at that, and I'll go back and listen and re-listen. I'm basing this on what I've always, thought. Like
the high moments on the Love Below, like Prototype, She Lives in My Lap, like Happy Valentine's Day. Like, no, that stuff is held up. But the rest of it isn't as immaculate and has avant-garde and groundbreaking as we, thought that it was when we heard it. And that's no knock to it, because it's still a wonderful album and a beautiful piece of work, but I don't think it's better than Stankonia.
You know what I think that is attributed to? His lack of touring and performing of that piece of work. Because I still will say Vibrate and Pink and Blue.
Love Vibrate.
Yeah, and Take Off Your Cool.
Pink and Blue is like dope in the speakers now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's dope to ride to.
Yeah.
But it's not like a better song than We Love These Hoes, though. It's not. You feel me?
Take Off Your Cool. I just think the sequencing and, from Happy Valentine's Day to how, the Love Below just flows. I think it's a better album.
Spread holds up well.
I think it's a better album than Stankonia. From end to end, I do.
I don't.
Andrew Green with the super chat says,
Spaghetti Junction.
I love Spaghetti Junction. I mean, and
Gangsta
I know it's
shit.
difficult to really put them up against each other because one's more so of a rap album and the other one's just not. But
I'm talking about the way the
musically,
songs. I'm talking about the
yeah,
quality of the songs, like the way the songs sound now. I'm not saying it's not even close. I'm saying it's like no, the songs on Stank On You are like better and have held up better. Even like the I'll Call Before I Come. Like I'll Call Before I Come sounds like something that could have came out in the last 3 or 4 years, Mike.
I never liked that record. I mean,
I've always liked that record.
you got records like Roses on The Love Below. I mean, are there any songs that you skip on The Love Below?
Yes.
What?
To be honest with you, I just play Happy Valentine's Day up to She Lives in My Lap, and then I get the Pink and Blue and Vibrate, and I'm usually cool after that, Mike.
Yeah, we need to. I would love to Patreon that one. Andrew Green with the
I don't
super
want
chat
to do that
says.
either.
Andrew Green with the super chat says, "Peace Kings, glad Nas and 21 handle situation like men should." OG talk sidebar. Yo, Mike, is that the MJ Thriller replica varsity jacket? If so, fire. Yes. Representing MJ today. Thriller is celebrating his 40th anniversary. I'm gonna get into that conversation too because I
Today.
feel like
Today.
Today. Yeah,
Today.
not 2 weeks ago
Today's
when they
today.
put out
Yeah.
that bullshit. The
Today.
industry really,
Today's
really,
today.
really played with this Thriller 40th anniversary release, and I got a lot to say about it. But
So what we doing? We doing Nas and 21? Or we doing
I was just about to
MJ
say,
and
man, let's
Thriller?
talk about
It's
this
all
Nas.
media related.
Let's talk about this
Yeah.
Nas and 21 song. One mic, one gun. What did you think about it?
I'm about to say, let's do what we always do and talk music first.
Yeah.
The record's dope. His hook game's nasty. He's one of the best hook writers ever. That's what I was thinking, like when I'm listening to this record. I'm like, he's one of the best hook writers ever. And when you're a great hook writer, you can work with almost anyone. And he can. And so he is. This record is one of those good look records that actually sounds good too. It's a good look and it sounds good. So it works. It makes sense. I'm not saying it's some sort of groundbreaking collaboration. It's not that. But is it a dope ass song? Yeah. Can I rock to it? Yeah. Can I ride to it? Yeah.
I think it's a dope sentiment, right? And I also feel like Nas is showing that, you know what, I can make a song tomorrow and put it out. And a lot of artists from his era, a lot of the greats, I don't want to say from his era, just a lot of the greats, period. Even Kendrick Lamar gives us 5 years of break or whatever. Nas is like, yo, I can make something tomorrow, and I can link up with 21, and we could do this. And I could do something that's in his lane, because he didn't even really bring 21 to his world per se. He changed up his flow, as he's been doing a lot. And I mean, I'm just so impressed with what Nas has been able to do over the past 4 or 5 years. I still can't even believe it's happening in this way. Like I told you offline, he's not only the greatest MC ever, he's the greatest MC in the game right now. Like, even if 90s Nas and all that stuff didn't exist, and let's just say his first album was King's Disease 1, right? In 2020, I'd be like, he's the best rapper in the game right now.
Right.
I mean,
so hold on. So let's stop for a second. So that's the problem. Because we have too many people when a record like this comes out. And it's like, I've realized who it is and what it is. And I'm saying this respectfully as one of those people. Mike, do you understand that when Illmatic came out, you were 11 and I was 12?
Yeah, man.
Now, listen to what I'm about to say. There are dudes our age and dudes significantly older than us that are holding on to this moment in time because, and I realized this the other day, you know, it's almost like it's that Al Bundy shit, that 4 touchdowns in a high school game. I'm serious. So many black male from the inner city, Mike, have Illmatic attached to certain parts of their youth or teenage years.
And not just black. I mean, because we seen the Juan Epstein podcast pull the same thing. So yeah, it's not just black.
Well, just people in the culturally black sphere as well. The Afro-Latino community being included in that as well. It literally struck such a chord that people refuse to let it go. Like literally refuse. And so when they hear a record like this that they heard yesterday, Here they come out the woodworks, like parachuting down the pole like firemen, like, oh, I don't like this. Why he working with 21? Why would Nas do this? It's like, fam, he's 50, you're 60. Let that shit go. Because if you looked at it through the lens of, let's just say, Mike, forget even, let's not even give him King's Disease. No, let's say that he comes out as a new artist and the first album that you hear is Nasir. You would think, hey, that's a dude with a whole lot of promise. And then you were to hear King's Disease, you'd be like, oh shit. And then you would hear King's Disease 2, you'd be like, this motherfucker running this rap shit, about to keep running this rap shit. And then you were to hear Magic and King's Disease 3. What would you be saying?
Right.
You're saying, this is the best rapper. This is one of the best rappers that I've ever heard. He's going down as one of the best MCs of all time right now. Look at these last 5 albums. The only one that you could say that's not great is the first one, which happens to people the first time around. That's how his last 5 album run looks. And so the fact that people are still like holding on to it instead of enjoying it like they do in other musical spheres.
And, you know, and continuously throwing the Jay-Z comparison out there, like Jay-Z shouldn't even be in the conversation. He hadn't put out an album since 2017. Like Nas has put out 5 albums since Jay's last album. So
it has literally nothing to do with him whatsoever.
And
I'm not saying that in any sort of shady way. It's just you have no place in this conversation unless you want to talk about the bars on Thun with the title and the takeovers. So like, unless you want to talk about that, there's no relevancy to like Jay-Z to talking about Nas.
Musically, no.
In relationship or perspective to this run, the music, the placement of current crop of MCs, which Nas should be placed in at the highest of the order, and Jay-Z should not be on the list because he hasn't made an album in 5 years.
No, it's true. And this man has made 5 and 4.
And they've been dope, Mike. Think about this. Nasir's the weakest project he's made in the last 5 years.
And if we want to even take that one out of the fold, he's made 4 and 2.5. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are we talking about? Let me get to some of these super chats because I do want to piggyback on that sentiment real quick.
Yeah, I have a couple more things I wanted to add.
Okay, yeah. Hold that thought. I want to get to the people real quick. Odell with the super chat says, Peace Kings, are you guys dropping the A2HH written review for King's Disease 3? Rate the album using the template similar to what you guys do with the MC rating. The same template for important releases. Show how it's done. Show them how it's done. What are you thinking? I mean,
I actually thought about that there needed to be a physical documentation of it because it goes back to that trophy case thing, Mike, about how stuff gets remembered. And, you know, maybe we're going to get remembered as somebody and people who culturally had enough integrity that it'll be respected over a long course of time. And if we're fortunate enough that that happens, and this is what I mean when it happens over a long course of time. Well, some people just going to trust the Washington Post and the New York Times because it was just credible for so long that you're going to go dig into their archives and find the archives to be credible as well because it's what you know. And so from that relationship, I have felt the need to document this a little bit more.
So you're going to write a review?
It feels like that kind of is happening now. So yeah,
let's do it.
I have no problem with writing a actual physical written review. And you want to know what's funny? I'm not going to lie. Part of my elevator speech, when I talk to people about According to Hip Hop Live and the podcast, is it's like, well, I wrote this music review for Jay Electronica's album featuring Jay-Z, and we went viral, and I haven't written an article since. That's part of an elevator speech.
Bring it back to the basis. Mad Max says, Give Me the Loot is not as good as Stop Being Greedy, and I personally know for a fact that when you with your girl and How's It Going Down comes on versus Big Papa, the girl's energy towards How's It Going Down is different. I love the fact that Mad Max. What do you know
about these things, young man? How many ladies have you been with, young man, that you know these things the way that you do?
Listen, man, Mad Max is.
I want you to understand something. When you're saying to Stop Being Greedy is better,
I think it is. I agree with that.
I'll give you the beat being better, but understand something about the back and forth when it happened. When Give Me the Loot happened, people thought that was Puff or Lil C's. We didn't recognize that was Big. You know that's DMX on Stop Being Greedy. So stop playing with me.
I don't know, man. I mean,
stop playing with me.
You know, I'm going to keep it real, though. I saw the Stop Being Greedy video first, and I was shocked that he had both of those different personnel. I think that I'm gonna keep it real. I think X did a better job with the two different voices because he had the when the sun is up, the gun is up on the show. He was like, Bust all the
No, but
gays, rage with the
that's
buckshot. Yeah,
that's
nah.
no, that's the light side. But no, that's his conscious side and his dark side conversing with one another.
Could it have been influenced by Gimme the Loot? For sure.
Of course
But
it
he
is.
did
The
it
same with Give Me the
better.
Loot.
He did it
Listen,
better.
but listen to what I'm saying. When you're saying he did it better, the perspective is different. Listen to what I'm saying. DMX is having a conversation with the two versions of his inner self, the light side and the dark side. That's what Stop Being Greedy is.
Yeah.
Biggie is literally playing a whole nother character while they are out here in the street robbing niggas. That is a different characterization, and therefore a different vocal inflection, therefore a different take, therefore harder to pull off. DMX did not create a new character. He created, it's the character from within being separated. Biggie created a whole nother persona on record. It's not the same thing.
I always
It's like
felt
writing,
like
that's the difference between writing about somebody else's life and writing about your own. DMX is writing about his life. Biggie's telling a story from two different people's perspectives and using a different voice for the different perspective.
I always felt like the MC.
Man, listen, all this walking is hurting my feet. Where money looks sweet? Where at? In the Isuzu Jeep. Man, I throw them in the beam. You grab the fucking cream, and then she start to scream, "Blom, blom, have a nice dream." Right.
I always felt like
that's characterization. That's giving characters life. That's different.
I always felt like that the MC, the DMX, was on the lighter side of not Gimme the Loot. Stop Being Greedy was like the MC that he was before he got signed or when he was with Rough House and all that. And I kind of wish he used that voice a little bit more because he was dope with that. You know what I mean? I think he kind of he didn't even use that on How's It Going Down. But the fact that he was able to revert back to his previous style and his new style on the same song, that shit was impressive. It's actually unheard of, actually.
No, I'm not saying it's not impressive, but when y'all are saying it's better than Give Me the Loot, I don't people are understanding what Biggie was really doing. He literally created a whole nother character. It's not a split persona as in Slick Rick, MC Ricky D, or two people inside of DMX. It's literally a whole nother person.
Yeah.
Literally a whole nother individual he's playing. He's playing two people at once.
KC1 with the super chat
he's
says
Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor, except for he's robbing niggas instead of working with chemistry
Eddie Murphy
sets.
and the Nutty Professor.
Give me the baby rings and a #1 mom pendant.
KC1 says, y'all crazy. No way in hell Ready to Die or It's Dark and Hell is Hot is better than the Infamous. No way.
I personally prefer the Infamous over both. That's me personally, though.
36 Chambers says, so then if Speakerbox / Love Below are solo joints, does that rewrite the notion that 3000 doesn't have any solo works in the MC all-time discussion? It is not a rap album. So no, that doesn't change anything. If Love Below was a rap album, we wouldn't be saying what we're saying. There is not a song on the Love Below where Dre has 3 rap verses or even 2 rap verses and a hook. It just doesn't exist. He has one song where he raps a long verse about his whole life from beginning to end, but that's it.
Nas has worked with 21 Savage more than Andre has. Let
me get the rest of these super chats. I don't piggyback on that, though. I know you have some more to say. Kendall Outlaw says, so you don't count the Love Below as an Outkast album, but you also don't count it as an Andre 3000 solo album. So what is it? I do count it as an Andre 3000 solo album. I do count it as an Andre 3000 solo album, but I don't count it as a rap album.
We can call it an alternative album if you want, but it's not a rap album.
He
call it an R&B album. R&B alternative.
Because a lot of people are even on the fence when it comes to Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill's album has Lost Ones, which is a rap song, has Doo-Wop, which is a rap song.
These are singles.
It also has The Final Hour, which is a rap song. 3 songs right there off the top, and I ain't even counting some of the verses she got on there, where she has a hook and 3 rap verses. Show me a song on the Love Below that fits that criteria. We gotta stop this, man. Dumb it down with the super chat says.
These were songs that got released. Lost Ones and Doo-Wop got played. 3 verses and a hook.
And see, and I think people are getting caught up in the verbiage and not the reason behind the verbiage. The reason why I say this is we don't know if rap-wise Andre can hold down a song by himself and how good it would be. We don't know. We just know how great he is when other people are on the record with him, rapping-wise. Lauren showed us what a solo Lauren song sounds like with Lost Ones. We don't have to imagine what Lost Ones or doo-wop would be. It
You know what it
happened.
sounds like?
We got evidence, man.
You know what it sounds like? You know what the evidence sounds like too?
Great.
Evidence is she one of the greatest rappers ever.
All time. Because if we
Period.
put
Evidence.
doo-wop and Lost Ones on a countdown, and not to mention a all-time countdown or female countdown, it's one of the greatest rap records ever. Now, can you guys tell
What,
me
doo-wop?
what record Andre has by himself that is one of the greatest rap records ever?
What, doo-wop or
Both.
Lost Thing?
Both.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Both of them are right.
Doo-wop
Right.
is a brilliant record.
I was
and not
actually
only
about to
did
say
she
Lost
ra-
Ones is a brilliant record. Mike,
Of
it's
course,
the best
Lost
sneak
Ones is
diss
just
record
great.
ever. It's the best sneak diss ever.
Lost Ones is just a great record. But with doo-wop, not only did she go and take some 50s, 60s style approach when it came to the hook and the imagery, she could have easily just sung that record. It's called doo-wop. But no, she chose to give you bars. And then when she gave you bars, she gave one verse for the women, she gave the other verse for the guys, and what to look out for. It was a cautionary tale. It's a great record. It jams. It has a horn break. It has everything. And so to sit here and act like what Andre did on a rap level is the same as that, we
Hold
can't
on.
discredit Lauren and the work that
Hold
she
on,
did.
doo-wop or Hey Ya?
Doo-wop's the better song.
Thank you. Okay, let's
just keep it real.
let's-
Dumb it down with
let's
the
go
super
back-
chat
Let's
says.
go back to what you wanted to piggyback off of what I said about just this run.
No.
And like-
I'm gonna get back to the run. Let me finish these super chats real quick.
Run
Dumb it
more
down.
super chats. Please, Mike.
Dumb It Down says Speaker Box is better than Love Below and Stank on It. Y'all sleeping on Big. I mean, I love that sentiment. I don't agree. I love Big, so I'm not mad at that. Mad Max with the super chat says, I need that Speaker Box versus Love Below battle because Speaker Box is way better. Y'all don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Blue Collar Hustler with the super chat says, disagree with the Life is Good is in the top 10 in the 2010s. It's the last Nas album where you didn't have to fight his status with being recognized. CNN named him as rapper's greatest lyricist, #1 debut, MTV's hottest rappers list. Mad Max says, love Nas, respect for the union, but the song Kid, y'all wouldn't play this next week. I was talking about the song with 21. We're not going to play it next week. Mad Nan with the super chat says, let's be honest. Only Nas verses matter. 21 is mid. Mad Max says mid, not Kid. Gotcha. Okay. And let me get through it real quick. 36 Chambers says, is this possibly a publicity stunt from 21? Saw someone say that this could have been a media thing generated to generate some buzz. Was it a plan? I have a theory, right? You want to hear my theory when it comes to this?
About to have some plug talk right quick. Go ahead.
Yeah. I would love to hear some plug talk. My theory is the fact that I feel like with what Nas is doing, and we know how the media kind of spins things and tries to denigrate anything he puts out. After King's Disease 3 came out and there was nothing that people could say about it, even on our station head when we were playing it live with everybody, I'm sitting here thinking like, how are the critics going to be able to spin this? Like, this isn't dope. And here comes 21 Savage with a irrelevant talk, right? And you and I have spoken about, and you really highlighted on this show, that King's Disease 3 is a Black Unity album.
Sure is.
And that was a test to see how Nas was going to handle this. And Nas handled this in the way that only he can. He unified the situation. And really, he put the onus on 21 where it's like, okay, we're going to reach out to you for a collaboration. What could he do at that point? All he could do was accept it. And not only did, he accept it, Nas executed on it, the song's out. And on top of that, Nas told him, yo, you and Kodak Black getting together, that'd be powerful. Again, doubling down on the Black unity. So now, Nas wins again. Obviously, he's relevant enough for you to make records with him. Nas is going to get streams on this as well, I'm sure. And 21's kind of eating his words. He sounded like he was apologizing on the song.
I don't know if he was apologizing. I think he was clarifying and edifying, and that's fine. So let's unpack a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought this up last night when I did my Station Head, my little KD trilogy Station Head, Mike.
Yeah.
What was the name of the first single that got released from the King's Disease trilogy?
Ultra Black.
Say what? Say that again?
Ultra Black.
Yeah, see, the theme's been there.
Yeah.
He actually started off this run with Hit Boy with the Black empowerment theme. The first single from this run is called Ultra Black.
Obama used it too in his interview with LeBron.
So he's being consistent. I just want to highlight that. The consistency is there, okay? Because he actually came out with the message like fist up and literally has just been kind of sliding it in and spoon feeding it to you since then, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing that you need to realize about what's going on. Here's the next thing you need to realize. Here's a little Plug talk. Plug was telling us behind the scenes to stop tripping. Like this whole time all this been going on. Because she's been saying, well, you know, you might not be looking at it from Nas' perspective, including to me. You know what I mean? She's not just talking to the fan base that way. Like, she's talking to me that way, too. You know? And so this is why, because, no, he's consistent. He's consistent with the things that he puts down on record and puts in proof to life. So, like, you know, so phone calls were made. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I'm glad I like also that he brought up The Ring on on the song, which lets you know that he was listening to Kodak Black's rant too.
Correct.
I love Kodak, by the way.
No, he's paying attention. That's what I'm saying. No, he's paying attention. And he's got people in place that pay attention for him too.
Yeah.
So he's not missing anything, which is just how a boss is supposed to move. That's how a boss is supposed to move.
Best rapper in the game.
He's the best rapper in the game, but this is how a boss is supposed to run his business too. This is how you run an operation. You understand?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I mean. People need to be looking at the Black empowerment of it. They also need to be looking at how he's running the operation from the front and from the back. So he's handling this behind the scenes like he's handling it from the front, consistently and with integrity and with keeping us unified and in line and intact. And when a boss moves that way, right, and when a boss moves that way, people should do what?
Fall in line.
Thank you.
What else could 21 do?
So now let's get to the actual business side of this, Mike. Well, there are numbers involved in this. And here's one thing, quite frankly, and this is, and I told the Plug this literally last night and this morning. This some bullshit the way that his fans have failed him, because this song with 21 is literally, if it's not number one on iTunes and on every streaming platform right now, it was in second place this morning, like only 12 hours in. And if it reaches number one, and it probably will, if it hasn't, I'd be surprised. It'll be his first time going number one on iTunes and on these streaming service platforms. And you want to know why that is? Because when 21's fan base saw that he got with Nas, they didn't start tweeting out about how they wanted to hear fucking Illmatic and it was written. They was like, oh, power move. Everybody all in, and his shit's moving up. And it's proof to life that Nas's fan base has failed him, because none of the King's Disease 3, none of the KD3 shit is moving like this record. And we know there's superior records on there now, don't we?
Well, I disagree with you on this.
No, I'm talking about the numbers, Mike. You can't disagree with numbers.
No, this is what I'm disagreeing with. I think that the fan base has done what they're supposed to do. I think the 90s hip-hop fan base in general, I think the engaged fan base, I mean, we've seen people galvanize. And I also, speaking of the numbers, I mean, I'm wearing this jacket today, and I'm going to speak to this a little later. I don't believe these fucking numbers that come out of these streaming farms and all this other stuff. I don't. And again, I've said it on shows before. It seems like the people that the media has it out for somehow do crazy low numbers, and the people who have the media backing somehow do crazy high numbers. I don't believe the Game's numbers. I don't believe the Baby's numbers. I really don't believe these King's Disease 3 numbers either. So I'm not quick to jump on the fans like that. But I will say, from a strategic standpoint,
Look at the way 21 people moving though.
With somebody like 21 who just did this record with Drake, he's clearly in the system. Do a record with him, of course, all the numbers are right in line. And I don't know if he has a fan base like that.
Well, I want you to pause. Well, here's what I mean. Let's have some more plug talk. This is what I mean about like the failure on this side though. You know, like they reached out to the fan base and asked the fan base if they felt like Nas should do a feature run this year before King's Disease 3. And the fan base was like, nah.
But you're asking the fans from an artistic standpoint as opposed to
what they want to hear in a time where you have interaction and can touch the fans. Right.
Yeah, but again,
and they told you know, and I told the plug, no, Mike, let me finish. This is what I told the plug. I said that is some of the craziest shit I have ever heard. Never listen to these fans again, because if you listen to these fans, they'll have this nigga making Memory Lane and The World Is Yours and New York State of Mind over and over again. I got that. It's good. When I want to hear it, you want to know what I do, Mike? When I want to hear it, I play it because he already made it.
Again, I think Jay went through that around the Blueprint 3 time. It was like, you know, want my old shit, buy my old albums. You know what I mean? But
I played the setup yesterday morning. It was glorious.
Yeah. I mean, again, you know this as a recording artist as well. Even if you went in the studio and tried to duplicate something that you made previously, you can't do it. I mean, for people who've never recorded before, recording something, it happens at one time, at one place, kind of like the day of the week. Like, you know what I mean?
Like playing a basketball game, Mike.
It's
You're
November.
only going out to hoop on the court for that day.
It's November 30th, 2022. We're never going to get November 30th, 2022 again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're never going to jump in the studio and sound the same exact way that you did on a record again. It's not going to happen. So the only thing you can do is make new stuff. And I think that's why artists always cling to making new music. I think it's a blessing for artists that have such classics and go out there and perform them year in and year out. Like I ran into Cool from Kool and the Gang at the airport, right? Mm-hmm. And I asked him and a couple of the band members, like, do y'all ever get tired of, you know, perform and celebrate? Because they got so many great records. It's like, nah, that's the cash cow. You know what I'm saying? That's why people call us to perform overseas and everything. We give the people what they want. But deep down as a musician, you want to continue to create and you want people to appreciate some of those new creations as well. So it's kind of a gift and a curse. It's like those classics are great because they keep your name alive. But fans have to realize that, you know what, we got to kind of move past that and listen to some of the new things that are being said. As long as, you know, the quality's there. And it's rare that the quality is there. And in this situation, it is.
Well, this is what I'm saying. When Nas releases an album with no features and it's doing the numbers that it's doing, and he drops one song with 21, Mike, on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and we waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning and it's number 2 trending towards number 1 every year, and the views on YouTube are almost equivalent to that of the Michael and Quincy video when there ain't no damn video to this. Like, no, there's a separation in how fan bases is moving right there. I hear what you're saying respectfully.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying respectfully about not trusting the numbers and about that 90s frame of view, because I'm going to be honest with you, more plug talk. I didn't understand how this streaming shit really worked truly until I talked to the plug. So all those things that you're saying are true. And I'm saying even with those things being said, the shit still don't add up, Mike. Like it still don't add up. The same way you about to talk about this Thriller stuff. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you when you go on your diatribe, Mike. I'm going to tell you and be like, Mike, you're right. That shit don't add up.
It doesn't.
And the shit don't add up here either.
There's 3 things in play. I think, you know, what you're saying, there's legitimacy to that. Like a lot of younger fans just have more time and, you know.
No, but it's the fact you don't hear 21's fan base trashing this record. Like you got people running up here as soon as the record drops. Why he get with 21? Why he do that? It's like, nigga, why are you still asking him to make Life's a Bitch?
Well, you know what? A lot of that
him and AZ are fine.
A lot
AZ's
of that
on Do or Die 3 now. He's on KD 3.
I don't know where you saw some of this, but a lot of the stuff that
Twitter.
I've been seeing.
You can go to Twitter, you can go to Instagram. These
you know,
niggas
but
wild.
I think a lot of that could be agent talk, and a lot of that could just be people trying to be detractors or whatever. But I mean, a lot of the stuff that I heard, especially with the post that Nas put with it was like, that's how you handle it, like real men. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
so outside the song, you know what I mean? Just the sentiment alone, and just when you see people quote unquote having problems or the internet, because that's what it is. The internet was sitting here stewing up, you know, kind of like a generation war per se, for lack of a better term. What you do is bridge that gap. And I mean, and Nas did that, and I don't see how anybody on any level could hate on that, unless you on some agent shit. You should want two generations of hip hop to come together.
Community love,
Yeah.
providing jobs. Why would you come for me? Why you ain't proud of Nas?
Right. Man there with the super chat says the track dropped and Nas stopped the world again. 100. Mad Max says all the fans do that though, Coop. I have to hear a Drake fan slightly older than me argue with young kids about how old Drake is better than new Drake. That does happen to every fan base. If you've been around long enough, you're gonna have people who like the earlier version of you and not the later version of you. Again, Jay-Z's gone through that.
First of all, Nas has gone through that too.
He's gone through that a few times.
That's what I'm saying. He's already gone through that. That shouldn't be happening right now. He's already been through that, and there's no reason for him to, there's nothing, literally nothing, conceptually or lyrically about what this man's done in the last 18 months that's not comparable to what he did at his peak.
No, I agree with you. You know, collectively. And see, the thing is, a lot of the times when people do that stuff, it's a quality conversation. And it's not a quality conversation here because
it's some rap shit though. Yeah. So it's supposed to be a quality conversation. You
know
what
I'm saying?
Like, rap shit.
You can't sit here and be like, all right, well, this King's Disease series isn't quality. That's why I gravitate to the earlier stuff. That argument's not in play here. You know what I mean?
Well, you can't say he don't rhyme the way that he used to either. It's like you heard Magic. It's like you can't say he's not making classic records. Have you heard Store Run? Nobody. Yeah. Speechless. Mike and Quincy. I Submit. Thun. Legit. It's like, no, it's like you can't say these things. It's like, well, he don't make bangers. Spicy. 27 Summers. 30.
I think a lot of that stuff, I think a lot of that stuff is just people being out of touch. You know how like when you just get in mixed company at the barbershop or whatever, people you know that really just either listen to the radio or listen to old stuff all day or really isn't in tune with what's going on, they'll be like, man, hip-hop sucks right now. You know, you hear people say stuff like that, but it's like, no, you're just not in tune to what's going on. Like, I remember hearing people say that around like 2018, and 2018 was a dope year for hip-hop. I heard people saying that in 2020 when we had Alfredo, we had From a King Pray to a Paris. God out here. Pray for Paris was out here.
King's Disease.
So, yeah, King's Disease. I think a lot of people say those things and they're just not in tune and they're not in touch with what's going on. And the only thing that they see and hear is like the stuff whenever they just flick on the radio, whenever their kid's in the car and they hear Lil Baby over and over with auto-tune or something.
It's just, you know.
And that's not being disrespectful. I'm just being real. A lot of them songs just sound the same. But that's not the whole game. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of options out there. I just think people just don't know where to go. But that's kind of why we exist. We're kind of that filter to let people... Because I know people ain't got time to listen to everything. We ain't got time to listen to everything. But we try to guide people in the right direction for the new shit that's coming out.
You think I want to listen to all this damn rap? No. But we haven't... No, for real. We said that we was going to do something, and we're going to do it. And so... when I'm pulling up like the last 2 years and I'm like, no, he's not just the greatest MC of all time. He's the greatest MC right now. He's making the best albums. He's making the best songs. He's the most versatile. He's literally checking every single box. The media is definitely doing something. It's like, no, I'm not saying that as a fan. I'm saying that as somebody. It's like, no, that's my job. I listen to so much rap music. I'm telling you that he's making a far superior quality product to anybody else. And the only people in the conversation in terms of quality the last couple of years are coming out of Griselda or Gibbs.
Well, I was going to say 2020, we said that Conway was the best rapper in the game. 2021, we said Nas was the best rapper in the game. He dropped KD2 and Magic. And now here we are in 2022. He's still the best rapper in the game.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, it's been, he's been at a bare minimum, he's been the best MC in the game right now from the moment King's Disease 2 came out.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment King's Disease 2 dropped, he's been the best MC in the game, and it's not a discussion.
Yeah, he hadn't let up the gas. I think that
It's not a discussion. It's like whoever you think is second, you can say it's Cole, Conway. Y'all Kendrick fans that like that mid that he just put out, y'all can still say him if you want to. Like whoever you want to say, just understand that person that you think, they number 2. Gibbs, Benny, Rock, Meth,
yeah,
Ray,
Lupe,
Kiss.
Hey, shout
They're
out to
not better
Mickey
than
Fax,
Nas
man.
right now.
Shout out to Mickey Fax. When I talked to him earlier this week, man, he said, man, appreciate the love for all the. I think we put like best diss record of the year for his diss record that was against. Actually, I think it's one of the strongest diss records. Period. When he buried Royce, and he was like, man, thanks for the love and this and that. We just really been busy and hadn't been able to connect. But yeah, shout out to Mickey Fax. It's a lot of MCing going on, and with all that being said, to say that Nasir Jones is the best rapper in the game right now, it's like LeBron being the best player in the NBA right now, which he's not, but I'm just saying if that were the case.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. That's exactly what it's like. It's like how's the old team
Even more.
Supposed to be running?
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing about it. I mean, this is no knock to LeBron. I mean, when LeBron still steps on the court right now, he's a top 10 player.
Oh, yeah. And that's
what
huge.
you would expect. And that's what you would expect of even somebody like a Nas, which would be pretty huge. It's like, no, he's Luka right now. It's like 33, 8, and 8.
Man, Luka was like, what, 42, 12, and 12 last night?
Yeah, I know. Did you watch the game? That was the best basketball game this year. They was going at it. That felt like a playoff game. They was going at it. It was on the verge of getting chippy. I was like, yo, it's like only 25 games into the season. It's like it's about to be a squab out here.
That's what I like about Luka, man. Luka gets chippy out here, man.
No.
He don't give a
that's
fuck.
why I'm gonna tell you what. Did you see that clip where Jordan is when they're at the celebration and Jordan like sees Luka and like walks right up to him? It's like, oh
respect.
no, because he sees it. He sees it.
Yeah.
When Mike is walking up to you like that, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, everybody else walks up to Jordan. He walked.
Yeah, no. He see what he see in Luka. He like, he's like, this motherfucker's a killer.
Lucy with the super chat says, is Nasir better than Magna Carta? Yes. Next question. Everything's better than Magna Carta. I say that respectfully. I think that might be Jay-Z's worst album.
It might be.
Kingdom Come's better than that.
It's not saying that.
Jay Short with the super chat says, I would love if Nas did a One World type of project with a bunch of collabos with younger artists from everywhere. That would be a smart strategic move, too, to place him as a hip-hop figurehead. And we want to talk about streams. Boom.
Can I piggyback off of that right quick?
Go ahead.
Well, that's exactly what the fuck I hope he does.
I hope so.
Stop listening to these 40, 50, 60, get off my lawn ass niggas for real. Stop listening to these dudes. These dudes are whack. They're played. They haven't really bought your shit on a regular basis in a long time. They just poke their heads out when they hear something that they don't like.
Or just hear something to say they don't like it.
Right. And you need to make music that makes you happy, keeps you current, and keeps you relevant, because here's the thing. Flow-wise, delivery-wise, timing-wise, voice-wise, well, he sounds young.
Well, that's what I got from the song, too. It sounds like he's having fun.
Can we get Gunna and Thug out? Can we get him on a record with Gunna?
Sounds like he's having fun. Yeah, that Gunna and Thug, man, after seeing that Metro trailer, man, I was like, damn, man.
Damn.
KC1 with the super chat says, 96 Nas and 96 Prodigy were the best MCs of the 90s. I ain't mad at that. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, Dale did the same concept Biggie and DMX did before them on Worldwide from his second album in 1993. I can believe that. Dale is a creative motherfucker.
Yeah, Dale the funky homo sapien.
Shout out to Dale, man. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, I was just thinking, how many times has Nas had an album of the year in your opinions? Last year, this year, 94.
So that's 3.
I think that's about it off the top of my head.
But that's what I'm saying. That's just like Tom Brady having 3 MVPs, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he got 3 MVPs, but it's like.
But every year he's right there.
Well, no. It's not. And I always tell people this. Well, you know, Tom Brady has finished second 6 times, right? Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Which means he's literally been a step away from having 9. And so when I look at, and this is what I mean about even top 5 in it. And here's what I'll tell you. Oh, well, you're not going to find one rapper with more top 5 albums per year than him, because he done put out a top 5 rap album in so many years and in tough years. 94, top 5 rap album. 96, top 5 rap album. 2001, top 5 rap album.
Definitely.
2002.
Yeah, 2002 as well.
Top 5 rap album. It's Godson 2003.
Now, Godson's 2002.
Is that the lost tapes of both of those 2002?
Yeah, both of those came out the same year.
Okay. So same thing with Life is Good in 2012.
And actually, Street's Disciples celebrating an anniversary today.
Okay. That's not a top 5 rap album that year. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to stay positive.
Life is Good is, though. Life is Good is, though.
Life is Good. So we got 5 top 5 album years right there. And keep in mind, it could be separated, because if you were to slide Godson or Life or Lost Tapes over, you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So he's already got 5 top 5 years. And that's not counting the KD run. So he's got King's Disease 1, 2, 3, Magic. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. The motherfucker got like 10 MVP caliber seasons. No, he's first team all NBA half his career.
Kendall Outlaw with the super chat says Andre 3000's Can't Wait featuring Sleepy Brown.
That's not
how that goes. It's Sleepy Brown's Can't Wait featuring Outkast. It's how that goes. So but I love Andre's verse. I love Andre's verse on there. What he was like.
You see how people twist it? Did you just hear that?
Yeah.
People really think that's Andre's record. That's not Andre's record.
Leather in the winter, silk in the summer. This is such an art. Where do I begin? And that's actually on the Barbershop soundtrack as well. CJ Kidd with the $20 super chat show. Super Love says Prodigy in his book said that Nas, Biggie, Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Jay-Z brought the East Coast back from the West. What's your opinion on that statement, and could you rank Illmatic, Into the 36, Ready to Die, The Infamous, and Reasonable Doubt? Since it's a $20 super chat, let's see. I got Illmatic. I have... Do you have Ready to Die over the 36?
Chambers?
Yeah.
No.
You said that emphatically. I mean, I don't know. Ready to Die is more complete.
No, it's not. Then Enter the Wu-Tang?
I personally like Enter the Wu-Tang more, but, I didn't know if I was being biased.
For you again. Shame on a nigga. Can it be all so simple? The Mystery of Chess Boxing. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Cream. Method Man. Protect Your Neck. That's 7 all-time classic records on
Well, I'm glad we're
album.
on the same page. I'm glad we're on the same page.
7.
Because, again, when I challenged something with Ready to Die, y'all looked at me like I was crazy.
Clan in the front. Let your feet stomp.
Illmatic.
Niggas to the left. Brag shit to death. No. When Clan in the front is the 8th best song on your album, it's better than almost everything ever made. Enter the Wu-Tang's a top 10 rap album. There's not a question about that. That's a top 10 rap album.
All right, so we got Illmatic, Into the 36, then Ready to Die, then Reasonable Doubt, then The Infamous. That's how I got it.
I would go Illmatic, Enter the Wu-Tang, The Infamous, Ready to Die, Reasonable Doubt. That's just me.
You got The Infamous over Reasonable Doubt. All right, as far as bringing the East Coast
the beats on
back,
The Infamous are better than the beats on Ready to Die and on Reasonable Doubt. And Prodigy has an MC is comparable to Big and Jay on The Infamous. And he actually has more quotable lines on The Infamous than they have on their debut projects.
I think Reasonable Doubt's the better album, in my opinion. I love The Infamous.
It's not more quotable. It doesn't have better songs.
Not more quotable?
No.
I don't know about that.
Hold on. Where'd Jay get The Evils from?
I mean, DJ
All right,
Premier.
Right, he got it from Prodigy.
Yeah,
right.
But that's not on The Infamous though.
Right, that's on the I Shot You. Exactly. You get what I'm saying. But
so they ain't got nothing to do with The Infamous.
But no, Prodigy on The Infamous is one of the most quotable like rap albums ever. Like people have taken shit from there. Beware. Big Pun took that. Shook One's Part Two. Drink it with nah. It's just better than Reasonable Doubt to me. I'm sorry.
I disagree wholeheartedly. Now, as far as bringing the East
I'll
Coast
Patreon
back,
that with you any day that you want to.
I would love to do that. I'm
I would
down
love
with
to
that.
too.
Now, what I was gonna say though, as far as bringing the East Coast back, I mean, obviously it was a collective effort, but I think that Biggie's on the forefront of that because at the end of the day, Biggie was able to not only do the East Coast sound, but he was making records that was spinning worldwide during a time where radio really wasn't playing hip hop during the day like that. And Biggie and Pac were the ones that made those commercially viable rap records and still had like album shits. So if you want to talk about somebody who was able to balance out what the West Coast was doing, because Dre, Snoop, and Pac, they were making radio records. Biggie was the one from Cube too, yeah. Big was the one from the East that, you know, was able to kind of combat that while everybody else was kind of holding down the foundation. So I would give Big the lead when it comes to bringing the East Coast back, even though Illmatic did a lot to bring the East Coast back from a foundational standpoint.
That's what I mean. Okay, so here's what I think is what happened. I think Midnight Marauders and Enter the Wu-Tang set Illmatic and Ready to Die up for success.
Yeah.
So I think those albums, those 4 albums in succession are what brought the East Coast back to prominence in various ways. Midnight Marauders brought core, fun-sounding hip-hop back that didn't involve gangster rap and made it epically great, like they did on the Low End Theory. So when they came back with Midnight Marauders, it was like, oh, boom, this is what the East Coast rap that traditional East Coast fans love to stand by and love the sound of.
You know, let me tell you something about Tribe, though. When Tribe was making what they were making back in the day, same thing with Daylight. I never associated them with New York. You know what I mean? I just heard nice songs. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I did. It's definitely like maybe not Daylight, but Tribe is East Coast sounding to me. It's Q-Tip. It's the beats. It's the drums, Mike. Yeah. It's East Coast. Yeah, it's East Coast. Into the Wu-Tang is new East Coast. You know what I mean? And so that kind of kept both of those flames and those demographics alive. It's like the album dropping the same day. It's like, well, you have the old and the new right there, looking for something because the West Coast is running shit. Illmatic brought rhymes back to hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
The rhyme pattern too.
Right. Like Nas brought lyrics and lyricism and like concepts and flow and themes like back to the forefront. Big brought East Coast back to the forefront on a public way. You know what I'm saying? Like on a hip hop basis, it's Nas. On a public format, it's Big. Radio. Because nobody's trying to rhyme like Big in '94. I swear, they're trying to rhyme like Nas. You feel me?
Big brought the radio, man.
Right, that's what I mean about like the public, the forefront of it. But niggas wasn't trying to rhyme like Big in '94.
Because down here, I mean,
I used to rhyme like Nas in '94.
I used to get my East Coast fix of music through TV, outside of just buying albums back then. But yeah, Atlanta radio wasn't playing, Wu-Tang like that. And I love Wu-Tang. I had to go to Rap City and Yo MTV Raps for Wu-Tang. Now, Big stuff was getting played down here.
See, I don't know how it went. Like, I was in Charlotte. I'd moved to Charlotte when all of this started happening. But I had access to all this stuff because I had 2 older cousins who were heads. So Ready to Die, Enter the Wu-Tang, Strictly for My Niggas, Midnight Marauders, Del the Funky Homo Sapiens, No Need for Alarm, Casual, Fear Itself, Big L Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, like all those 93, 94 tapes.
Yeah.
Oh, my cousins had those. So when I moved to Charlotte is actually when I fell in love with hip hop again, because you have to understand, they put me onto the shit when they're living with me on the East Side in 88, 89, 90. I don't see them for like 3 or 4 years. They were my access. So when I pulled back up to Charlotte is when I got access again because they were heads. And so it's like all that shit I had immediate access to again. It was like heaven. Southern Playalistic.
Yeah. I love that time period, that 93 to 95. Like we was bumping everything from Doggy Style to Southern Playalistic. Then you had some Biggie over here. You had East 1999 over here. Spice One was getting a lot of burn. Like everybody was listening to everyone down here. And I think that's some of the advantages that we have. I know a lot of people feel like we kind of got a East Coast centric show, but from a lot of my a lot of my friends on the East Coast, that's all they were hearing because the East Coast was so heavy in the 90s they didn't get a chance to really listen to anybody else because it was so much going on the East Coast. With us being down here, we got like an even kill of everything.
I'm going to tell you what happened and how Southern hip hop really came into my life more is when my older cousins got cars and wanted systems.
Yeah.
That's when I started hearing 3-6 and UGK. And
Yeah.
Because before that, it was more like we were raised in the late 80s on some East Coast rap shit. There was nobody down here but the Ghetto Boys.
Yeah.
So outside of their first tape, and you have to understand, the Ghetto Boys were so controversial back then down in the South that it's like, I can remember my aunt making a fuss about Cuz having the Ghetto Boys tape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they were like the down south.
It's
NWA.
like they really like these dudes are murderers. Like, what you doing listening to these niggas? Like, you know?
They were really the down south NWA at that point.
Really? Yeah. No. It was really like that.
Yeah. So, Jay Short with the super chat says, "Can't wait." It's Sleepy Brown featuring Outkast. Yes, sir. Got to correct that. We got to give proper credit where proper credit's due. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, "Every week 3,000 hate. What's the backstory?" There's no hate. We're just stating facts. What did we? All right. Take all of that emotion out of it. What did we say?
You gotta say it so nicely to
What
people.
did we say that was inaccurate?
You be nice to people now, Mike, when you talk about Andre, because the way that we're saying this is making so many people uncomfortable. Like you were saying something that is untrue or without facts or that needs some sort of correction. We have to say it softly and quietly and nicely so people understand it. He doesn't have any solo records.
No solo rap records.
Songs.
We have to be very specific.
He has no solo No, I was going to finish. He has no solo records that are rap songs.
Yeah.
Nobody's mad. Nobody's hating. It's not even fair to Lauryn Hill to place him ahead of Lauryn Hill because Lauryn Hill has made The Final Hour, Doo-Wop, and Lost Ones, which are certified great to classic rap songs that deserve recognition in the canon of hip hop. And when you place somebody ahead of somebody, even like Lauryn Hill, who barely raps but can show up and have the verse of the year like she does last year, you want to know? I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Iniquity.
A word from our sponsors.
Iniquity is better than Day in the Life of Andre 3000. It is from her Unplugged. Andre.
The verse on Guantanamera.
Yeah. I mean, her verse on Everything is Everything. Great verse.
Her verse
Leroy
on Nobody
Green.
on last year's album of the year, King's Disease 2, which was literally verse of the year before Magic came out.
Leroy Green with the super chat says, Coop asked the plug, what's up with Nas and Jay-Z premiere Watch the Throne 2, the GOAT debate? Well, before the plug, you give the plug's answer, I'm going to give my statement. I think at this point, first of all, I don't think Nas needs that at this point. I think Jay would need that more, but I don't think Jay would even do that at this point. He has so much catching up to do. If we don't talk about records, if we're talking about in that competitive aspect,
about 50 records down.
Yeah, he's got some catching up to do. So I think the last thing he would want to do. Down. Yeah, the last thing he would want to do right now is make a whole album with the guy who's this much in rhythm too. It wouldn't be good. Eric Terrell, do you have any plug talk for that? No?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not about to.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, stick to the same hood talk. You're a hero spreading your wings, showing all your talent, and the criminal Glad Prince and Marvin spread their wings. Let's see. I think we got some more super chats before we get on to that next thing. Let's see. Peter Parks with super chat. Shout out to Peter Parks. Mike is right. Atlantic just got caught for fake streaming their artists. You know, DJ Academic was putting them on blast. So I was like, and everything that Academic was saying, I mean, I don't know it to be true, but it didn't sound unbelievable to me. Melvin Wright with the super chat says, KD3 was not promoted properly compared to 1 and 2. His fans not checking for music platforms. I just argued with the guy that still buys $2 bootlegs. I'm like, bro, $9.99 for a subscription. That's 5 CDs a month you buy. Lord.
It's a
mentality.
Walk away from him, step away from him, and never go back. Just step away from him.
It's
never
a mentality.
Step away from him. Don't
36
argue with him.
Chambers says, Joe Button podcast had an interesting perspective. Nas is amazing still, but doesn't go off like verbal intercourse level bars on some spaz shit. That's why people have been complaining about new Nas. Are y'all
Neither
complaining
does
about verbal intercourse?
anybody else. When people say that, do you understand how absurd that sounds? This is what that sounds like.
Hey, you know what that sounds like? That's like complaining about 97 Jordan saying, yo, he's not jumping from the free throw line anymore, man. I don't want to see what this nigga's doing, man.
Right. Yeah. That's like saying everything past Tom Brady's 07 season. It's like, well, it's really not 07 Brady. Remember them bombs he was dropping on Moss, like pinpoint, like every pass was on point. It's like, yeah.
It was like, what?
No, for real. Like in 2007, like Tom Brady threw like 15 bad balls like that year. You feel me? It's like, so he's not doing that again. And
like what?
neither is anybody else. So you understand that neither is anybody else. When people are like, well, he's not the guy that wrote verbal intercourse or taking in blood. Have you heard somebody else come along and do verbal intercourse or taking in blood? Like,
Wow.
Where? Show me the guy. Where is he?
We're going to talk about Thriller in a moment,
We would be
but
calling
that's
them
another
the GOAT
one.
right now if we had seen that person. I want some evidence that there is somebody else other than Nas that has come up and produced a verbal intercourse.
I don't know what to
people
say.
talking about? No, I want them to get off my lawn now. I have a house. I have a front yard and a backyard. I want you're not. The deer sit on the side. The foxes are in the back. The squirrels and the chipmunks are in the front. But all of y'all got to get the fuck off. You got to get off. Stay off my
Were we
lawn.
really watching the 97, 98 Jordan saying, yo, he's not
Hell
averaging
no.
38, man. He's not averaging 38, 8 and 8 no more, man. I ain't fucking with him, man. He's what?
Right. That's pretty much what you're saying. Is it's like that guy that can go get you 50 points on 2-point jump shots all game that's dunking on everybody and jumping out the gym. It's like, well, he don't do that every game.
Man,
I don't
Max,
like that guy. I don't like that guy that gets me 36 and 6 and goes and wins the championship. Like, I don't
Right.
like that guy.
Mad Max with the super chat says 21 has a fan base. He don't have a cult like Kodak, Uzi, Cole, Dot, Future, Drake, etc. 21 is a feature rapper, and people like him for some reason, but they don't have
Do a
love
song
for
with
him.
all of them.
He
Do a
kinda-
song with all of them, I say.
Yeah,
If you haven't done a song with them already, go ahead and do it now.
I would like to see Kodak and Nas though, for real. And
I told you, Benny got a song with Nas. We know Conway got a song with Nas. That's 2 of the top 3 Griselda members that we know have a song with Nas in the can.
Adole with the
Streets
super
watching.
chat says, don't believe the numbers. I have streamed KD3 my entire 10-hour shift every night, 6 nights a week since it dropped. But Spotify tells me Beat Breaks is my most streamed song. Sad. It's all lies. Interesting. See, that's evidence as somebody who actually did the test. That's placement, though. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, these platforms, listen, I'm just going to say it. These platforms take marketing dollars to play certain songs in certain areas and on certain playlists. It's kind of like when we used to go in the record store. I mean, I know you worked in the record store, but even the mainstream ones like Virgin Music and the Mega Store and Blockbuster Music, all that stuff.
Camelot.
Certain artists, they had the damn billboard there with their albums right there in the front. The labels pay for that placement. So if the labels are paying for that kind of placement, you don't think that the labels are paying for digital placement? 36 Chambers with the super chat says, bias is showing, but 36 Chambers over Ready to Die. Definitely 36. I see the bias, but you're correct as well. Willard Winston with super chat says, when did Reasonable Doubt become better than All Eyes on Me? Peace. Okay. That was the other one that we kind of had to handle. Listen, let's just be real. In 1996, album of the year is All Eyes on Me. Period. But if we're asking from a technical standpoint, and now even from a historical standpoint too, because let's be real, Reasonable Doubt's legacy is pretty big now.
Can I tell you something?
But from end to end, I think that Reasonable Doubt is the better album because this too has so many missteps. That's it.
Can I tell you something in all honesty? It was written and Reasonable Doubt benefit from the East Coast bias in terms of how it's looked at. If those guys would have made a record with the amount of hits as All Eyes on Me in 1996, they would have ran away with Album of the Year in spite of how the second disc would have sounded.
I agree.
And so even though I personally lyrically find it was written to be a superior effort to everything that's ever been done in rap, and Reasonable Doubt is probably one of the landmark rap albums of its era because nobody had ever talked like that on record before. Neither one of those albums is really the tour de force that All Eyes on Me is. Now, is it?
No,
like, is there a record on either one of those albums that even makes you feel what Ambitions as a Rider or No More Pain makes you feel? Like, if we're being honest.
No. And again, I'm not doubting that. If that album was just disc one and a couple of the best songs on disc two,
it would be no question.
It would be no question. But I have
a top 10 rap album. This one's better than Ready to Die.
We have to grade the totality of it, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just what it is. Like, we
this
can't.
One better than Ready to Die, and It's Dark and Hell is Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can't just act like disc two doesn't exist. It's part of the album. You know what I mean?
But damn near every song on disc one is a classic. I don't think you understand.
I understand what you're saying, but disc two does exist. It's part of the album. It's kind of like like 2001, right? If 2001 gets cut off by song 10, this shit is just out of here. But it's not.
Listen,
like, the second half is good. Don't get it twisted. I like the second half of 2001. I don't want people to take what I'm saying out of context, but it's not the first half of that album.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
And I've had to ask myself this. Are we being too hard on disc two of All Eyes on Me? And I'm only asking this why, and here's why I'm asking this. When I think about an album that has hit records that are classic songs on it, well, the only thing I can compare All Eyes on Me Book 1 to is Paid in Full and Doggy Style.
I was going to say, man, again, I think 2001 is a comparable.
2001 is not on All Eyes on Me.
No, but I'm talking about as far as like the drop off. It's a comparable, I guess, correlation, right? Because 2001 has The Watcher, then it got Still DRE. You got Next Episode in that first half. Forgot About Dre in that first half. You got
Forgot About Dre's record 10. Hold on, no. Forgot About Dre's track 10. Isn't Forgot About Dre track 10?
Where does it stop? I'm talking like until it gets to that all these niggas and all these hoes and here's somebody here going fuck. I think that Next Episode is the last of that bracket. And it's like the rest of that album is quality, but it's not that first half. And I think that what you're asking as far as us being too hard on disc 2, we're relating it to how great disc 1 is, but I don't think that's being too hard. It's one album. That's part of the album process. You got to keep that level.
No, I understand what you're saying, but even and I love me some 2001, but even when you were like naming those records off, it's like, well, those aren't fucking with the records that I'm talking about, though, respectfully. It's like, well, The Watcher. Well, I'm talking about Ambitions as a Rider. Well, it's like, well, Ambitions as a Rider is whooping The Watcher's ass every fucking which way. You feel what I'm saying?
Well, what you got up against Still DRE?
Huh?
What you got for Still DRE?
It's called California Love.
Still DRE.
That's what I'm saying. The first single. No, we're going first single, right? What's the first single on the Chronic 2001?
I think Still DRE is the better song, but I feel
it's not.
It's not.
No. What's the better verse? What's the better verse?
What do you mean? What's the
Tupac's
better
verse or Snoop and Dre's verse?
Snoop ain't got a verse on there. I mean, we're comparing Dr. Dre rapping over Jigga bars, by the way, to Tupac rapping. I mean,
I ain't mad at
what's the better beat? The Still DRE beat's much better. The hook's better to Still DRE too.
You keep telling yourself that, Mike.
It is.
Don't nobody have Still DRE ahead of California Love, Mike.
What do you guys think in the chat? I want to see. Let me get to the super chat real quick. Eric Terrell, the super chat says. Eric Terrell says.
Tripping, Mike.
No, I'm not.
No, Still DRE is not no California Love, Mike.
I never was a big fan of California Love like that, to be real with you. I wasn't. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, in the 90s, Naughty was bigger than Tribe. Facts. Naughty had them hits, man. I don't know if they were bigger than Tribe, but
I don't even want to have this
they
two-part
had
talk.
them hits. I will say that about Naughty. Naughty was like, they were good for a banger every summer. Men2 with the super chat says, please address the allegations of Nas having writers. Okay, we can get into that now.
Let's address that since we're
Let me get
here.
to the rest of these super chats and we'll go on to that subject. Charles Manning with the super chat says, people that keep wanting that Illmatic Nas, they just want Nas to themselves. People give Jay range to make his music, but with Nas, they want to keep him in a box. I think people want a reason to criticize Nas because
You said that.
Yeah, because I feel like even when Nas goes out there and does something like Nasty or whatever, it's like, oh, he trying to recreate Illmatic, and it doesn't work out. You remember when Method Man and Busta Rhymes had that video where he was kind of trying to recreate Bring the Pain?
Mm-hmm.
The song was dope, but you can't recreate those moments. It just doesn't. It doesn't work, and people know that. And for people who want Nas to be Illmatic, they're setting him up for sabotage because you can never recreate that. Mad Max says, when people say he's not rapping like he did on Verbal Intercourse, it's a credit to Nas. They telling you that it's him versus him. I guess
nobody's sitting up here when Tom Brady walking around with 7 rings. Nobody's like, hey, but you ain't thrown 50 touchdown passes since 2007. No, they not doing that.
Well, you know what? I want to keep it to rap, though. No one's telling Jay-Z that he's not rapping like he does on Dead Presidents because he's never rapped like he did on Reasonable Doubt again. And no one ever asked him to do so.
97 Hope.
97 Hope is great. No, he doesn't rap like that either. And
definitely doesn't rap like that.
That's all. That
guy's gone. That guy disappeared on Volume 2.
Like Common, man.
Volume 2. He did not get him back.
That rapper that Common is on Like Water for Chocolate, we'll never hear that rapper again.
Well, that guy gone. He gone.
It's gone. And it's fine. And he even made his best effort, in my opinion, with B and wasn't even rapping like that. But it's something about, I mean, we played it on our Patreon, or you played it. You played the 6th Sense. Mm-hmm. He's never going to rap like that again.
Rapping his ass off.
Shit's crazy. Can't knock the hustle, but I seen Street Dreams deferred. That first verse is heavy. That might be my favorite Common verse.
Bars.
The Combs 44.
That or the Corner.
Nah, his verse on there is just strong, man. I think the Corner might be a...
Corner's probably a better record beginning to end. Yeah,
it might be. It's close. But his bar work on 6th Sense...
Aren't those his two seminal moments as like an MC, though? Is the Corner and the 6th Sense? Like, as an MC, isn't that how he's going to be remembered, though?
Off the top of my head, I mean, I know, and this kind of correlates with the Like Water for Chocolate comment, but when he was on 199, his performance on there, that first verse on there is... You know, I'm fighting for freedom, writing for freedom. My record company niggas, I don't like when I see them. My ancestors, when I'm writing, I see them and talk with them. Hoping that one day in the stars I'll walk on with them. Shitted on so many rappers like I'm in a star with them. Yeah, he went crazy on that record. Mm-hmm. So that, and I would say 6th Sense are kind of his seminal mic performances with that style. But again, we're never going to hear him rap like that again. And it's okay. So why do we just hold Nas to the whole Verbal Intercourse thing? No, it's a lot of rappers out there that you're never going to hear rap like they did before. You're never going to hear Snoop rap like he did on Murder Was the Case or It Ain't No Fun again. The Cone 44 with the super chat says, on Recession Proof, Nas said, Knicks game, I sit in the seats, I barely hit the floor. Do once sit across from someone lady I hit before. Y'all tell me that that's a sneak diss. Think about it. All right, Jay Short with another super chat with the $20 super chat. Y'all good looking out. He says, funny how everyone heard Quentin Miller say that he worked with Nas, but it's pretending that they didn't hear him clarify and he wasn't a ghostwriter. Quentin made no allegations. If he did, it wouldn't matter. It'd be a Barry Bonds situation. Let's talk about Quentin Miller. Because I know we still got some more super chats. We'll get to them. And I appreciate y'all super chat and keep going, but we got to get to this subject. Quentin Miller made a statement basically saying that he is tired of all this nonsense. You know who I blame for all of this? Meek Mill.
Oh, I was going to say Kanye because everybody's blaming Kanye for everything. I just figured it was the thing to do.
I feel bad for Quentin Miller, man, because whatever he adds to, I mean, he lost his leg too, man. Whatever he adds to these situations.
You mean that part? I mean,
just period. He's just an artist who, for whatever reason, gets called into the studio to work and to do whatever he does. And I think that on some levels, because I heard him on Flex, and I'm not trying to be funny, but when I heard him rhyming on Flex, I'm like, he doesn't really, have that MC aura or delivery and all of that. But whatever he adds, people call on him to be a creator in the studio. And I don't know if it's ideas. I don't know if somehow he might be some level of a producer when it comes to the words and hook and placement. But he's not writing people's rhymes. I mean, there was a reference track that we did here with the Drake thing, which, was official or whatever. But you and I say it's it's my favorite Drake, project, the one that he worked on, right? For whatever reason, he keeps getting called into the studio. Now, clearly, we all know he's not writing Nas's rhymes. Like, we've heard Nas rhyme, we've heard Quentin Miller rhyme, we've heard Nas before Quentin Miller. So he really didn't even have to clarify that. I think that was a story that was just put out there, I think, from a Vlad interview or something. But I just feel bad for him in the sense where people are tainting his work. You know what I'm saying? It's like whatever he gets called to do and get paid for in the studio, now other people aren't going to call him to do those things in fear of seeing him around and being accused of having a ghostwriter. You know what I mean? He's a studio guy, and he, like I said, he lost his leg, so he can't really, he probably doesn't do all the things that artists do and travel and perform and all those things. So studio work is his occupation, and people are tainting his ability to get work because of these, notions that people put out there that started with Meek Mill.
No, so let's talk on a musical level about how this works. And I know this because I'm fortunate enough that, and R&B and rap is such a funny thing how close they're merged together, but how the differences and the nuances of things are different. And so when you're hearing Quentin Miller do reference tracks for Drake, when you're hearing those reference tracks, Mike, I know so many countless R&B singers in this city who are songwriters, and their way of breaking through and getting into the industry is, the songs that they write, well, they have to sing them first in order to get into the door and get people to hear that they're making quality stuff.
Right.
And so for a songwriter in this business, you get in by you singing the song and an artist who is more vocally talented than you hearing it and taking it on. That is what essentially happened with Missy Elliott and The Dream. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
They're songwriters. They're creators. Okay? Quentin Miller is a songwriter and a creator. He happens to be an artist. Most songwriters and creators are artists because they have to sing and perform the reference tracks to get into the door as songwriters. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Once you have proven yourself to be one of these people, as in when the biggest star of this generation in most people's minds, when reference tracks reference back to you from that album that is his considered to be his greatest and biggest piece of work in a lot of people's minds, okay? That as a songwriter provides you a level of credibility within the industry that goes unsaid. That is how you get to walk in these doors and start creating from different aspects, not just providing reference tracks, okay? So what the problem is going on here is that when people are thinking of Quentin Miller, they are thinking of these reference tracks. Right. And there's so much more that goes on with being a songwriter, a creator, and a collaborator than doing that. It's what most people do to get their foot in the door. I'll give you another example of a reference track. Flowetry with Butterflies. Marsha Ambrosius singing Butterflies. They wrote Butterflies, Mike.
Right.
Who Butterflies end up in the hands of?
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
Have we ever said a goddamn thing? You feel what I'm saying?
Well, this is what I will say. What's different between rap and R&B in that sense is the fact that in R&B you're dealing with melodies, right? And in
you
rap,
are with rap now too. In modern day rap,
you're right.
Yes,
in modern day rap, you are now. But it's a little different because vocally, you have people like Rod Temperton writing for Michael Jackson. He can't sing like Michael Jackson. So if I'm going to write a great
Marsha
song,
can't sing like Mike either, though.
No. But I'm just using this example, though. I'm just saying, like most songwriters, especially in that era, they were great songwriters, but they needed to hand it over to a great vocalist, i.e., a Whitney Houston or a Michael Jackson or a Mariah Carey. They could do things with the song that a person who might be a decent vocalist or someone who's not a vocalist at all could do. Now, as far as rap goes, it's one of those things where, like, hypothetically, let's just say there's a writer for Tupac on Dear Mama, and he wrote all those lyrics, right? Well, if that's the case, I want to hear the nigga who wrote the shit rap the shit. So it's a little different because you're dealing with notes when it comes to R&B, but you do have a point when you're saying that rap and R&B are kind of intermingling now anyway. And I think the reference tracks that we got from Quentin Miller and Drake, and please let us know if we're wrong in the chat, they were on some melodic stuff and kind of on some singy, rappy stuff.
Well, listen to what I'm saying is that for burgeoning songwriters, most people who are songwriters, Mike, were artists first, but their talent leveled out at a certain place. Like Missy had a whole R&B group, Mike. They had a whole deal. But she realized, like, that as a songwriter, her ceiling was like, well, I'm a 10 as a songwriter. We're a 5 as a group. I'm a 7 as a solo act. I'm a 9 or a 10 with Timberland. You feel what I'm saying about how she started parsing it out and putting it together? So what happens with most of these songwriters is that they were artists first. And so let me finish, because you provide reference tracks to get into the room, Mike.
Yeah.
But once you've been certified, well, you get called into the room just to contribute to the collaborative process. You could come up with one fucking note and get a songwriter's credit, like literally a note. You could play a key, be like, we keeping that. Be like, hey, no, I got you. You're good. And as far as it was explained to me, it's like, well, his credit on here was from a sample.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But again, that's the thing.
It's a credit from a sample. No, but and you're right. It's not fair to him because he deserves the right, like, to be acknowledged as somebody that's like, well, don't assume because I'm walking into somebody's studio that I'm doing reference tracks.
Exactly.
Like, I'm a creator and a collaborator.
Exactly.
I can do a multitude
or if
of
you
things
see my
artist.
name,
yes.
Yeah. So if you see my name here on some sample shit, don't think that I wrote something for this artist. So let's just say that, whatever producer that Fab is working with or whoever somebody's working with, they want to pull Quentin Miller in to help them on the production end of things. The artist might be like, nah, man, I don't need him in the studio with me because people gonna think whatever. That affects his bottom line, and I think that's fucked up. And I wish Meek Mill would go out there and apologize to this man for putting him in this situation. There's probably a lot of Quentin Millers in the industry, period. And we only know this Quentin Miller because Meek Mill exposed it in some sort of way, trying to drag Drake because Drake didn't tweet out his album. Now this man's whole career has to suffer because you got in your feelings because a nigga didn't tweet about your album. Come on, man.
It's deeper than that. I hear what you're saying. It is. It is, but I hear what you're saying. It is deeper than that, but I do hear what you're saying.
It's not. I'll say this. If it's deeper than that, though, Coop. If it's deeper than that, is it Quentin Miller's fault? Is any of this Quentin Miller's fault? He shouldn't get hit with a stray bullet because you got a problem with another nigga. You know what I mean?
When niggas is out here in the streets, there ain't no rules. They throwing up gang signs, and you might catch a stray. That's the rule. The
Well,
rule
that
is
ain't
protect
cool.
your neck.
It still ain't cool.
Watch your step, kid. You best protect your neck. And I get what you're saying, and we can just kind of wrap it up like this. It is unfair to him, and I'm sorry for him. But here's how you should look at it on the other end. Part of the reason why Nas should feel comfortable with Quentin Miller coming to the studio, there better not be nobody in their right goddamn mind thinking that Quentin Miller's stepping into a studio with Nas and about to help Nas write some shit.
Yeah, come on.
Who in the hell? So just the fact that this is even a conversation makes me feel like there's some media slander involved, but nothing that I'm going to like lean too heavy on, because it's like, you would question that, but you're going to question that, but at the same time, we got to deal with cats. It's like, he's not rapping like the guy on Verbal Intercourse. Which one is it? Which one is it? Which side of the slander do you agents want to side on? And next topic, Mike. I think it's time for you to go down your deep, dark thriller rabbit
You think
hole.
it's the thriller time? Let me get to
It
these
is
super
thriller
chats
time,
first.
Mike.
36 Chambers.
Have we covered all? Do we have any other rap news to cover?
Off the top of my head.
I want somebody to tell me if King's Disease three's numbers are up, because that's what I would really like to hear. I'd like to hear this classic top 50 rap album actually get pushed back up on the charts where it belongs.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Put a deluxe out there.
But let's talk about the greatest selling album of all time that saved MTV and the music industry and how these motherfuckers. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I want to get to the super chats first
Word from our sponsors.
Before I get into it. 36 Chambers says, I did feel like not having Pac's album in the top 10 of the 90s was a bit blasphemous. Besides the 2-disc misstep. Leaving Pac out and his impact was wrong. Okay. I think that we might just need to put All Eyes on Me in there. And you know what? And I think
we need to go top 5 by year. So many people are going to get left out. Just think about it. 93 is Enter the Wu-Tang, Doggy Style, and Midnight Marauders. That's 93. That's not even a high-level year.
This is what I'll say about the missteps. It was the first double disc. So I guess, the missteps, you kind of get excused for it because nobody else did a double disc before to learn from. So
they didn't learn. They're still
no, and no one's perfected it.
On any double disc, you won't find All Eyes on Me disc 1 on any of those other double discs that came after, and that includes Life After Death.
No, it's real. Man Max with the super chat says, I did the Apple Music thing. My top 5 streaming artists was Benny number 1, Nas number 2, Chef G number 3, Dave East number 4, and Cole number 5. And I have yet to see someone on an IG post have K-Dot on their top listened artists. Interesting. That wasn't us. That was Mad Max for the K-Dot.
Nobody listening to that mid.
Jay Short with the super chat says, this too is better than Machiavelli. Y'all underrating it. I'm going to go listen to this too tomorrow.
I'm going to listen to this too again.
Yeah, CJ Kid with the super chat says, Coop, is All Eyes on Me this one better than 36 Chambers?
I think they're right next to each other. I would probably have them ranked like 8 or 9 or 9 or 10. And just off the top of my head, there's no
game.
There's no cream on All Eyes on Me. So I would probably tell you, I would put Enter the Wu-Tang probably 1 slot ahead against All Eyes on Me, Volume 1. Yeah, like literally 1 slot ahead, like 8 and 9.
The game says Nas is against society. Of course, they're going after the numbers.
Just very like black empowering too. It's all that black empowerment that he's talking about too. They hear this stuff like if the feds can hand out RICO on rap lyrics, you think they're not hearing the black empowerment messages as well? Like if they're hearing the stuff that's making niggas catch cases, well, they're hearing the stuff that's empowering and uplifting to the community too, which is why you see it being suppressed, which is part of the institutional and systemic racism that I've pointed to on countless times when I pulled up to this show. I hope somebody's hearing what I'm saying about the systemic and the institutional racism and how it fundamentally has been designed to keep progressive thoughts and notions of black folks down. Literally, this is a Reconstruction era post-slavery style theme that they have instituted into this society that's been working for 100, 120 years because we refuse to pay attention and break the chains. I'm going to say less, Mike. Let's talk about Thriller.
I'm way behind on the super chats. Let me get up to this real quick. 36 says, California Love is way better, Mike. You bugging. I see a lot of people saying still DRE, but they didn't super chat. But I see it. We should put a poll up on that one. Because
I'm with
I
you
think
on
Still
that.
DRE is the better song.
I'm not with you on that. I'm just with you on the poll.
I never liked California Love like that.
I think you're bugging, Mike.
Jay
Out on
Short,
bail, fresh out of jail, California dreaming. Soon as I step on the scene, I'm hearing Hoochie screaming, freeing for money and alcohol, the like. Yeah,
West
everybody knows
Side
those words.
Players,
Stop that.
counts
See,
that.
you know the words.
I know the
Only
whole
in
thing.
Cali, only in Cali will we riot,
Not
not
rally
rally.
to live and
To
die.
live
In
and
LA, we
die.
wear
In
Chucks,
LA,
not
we wearing
Valleys.
Chucks, not valleys. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Because
he
they
went
lopes
in.
and khaki suits and ride is what we do. Yeah.
Jay
Yeah,
Short with
that's
the Super Chat says they play Disc 2 album tracks on the radio out here. Shout out to Jay Short on the West Coast, letting us know what's going on. I'm about to go listen to Disc 2 heavy this week, at the end of the week, or
I am.
tomorrow.
We might need to give All Eyes on Me another burn. I
Yeah.
can't front. I haven't listened to All Eyes on Me book 2 I ain't listened to it in the last couple of years. Shit.
Vel Superb says, go through Disc 2 list and tell us the week songs.
Okay. You know
We
what?
might need to have a Disc 2 review on Friday, re-review on Friday when we talk about Metro and all that. Can we do that? Can we do like a throwback review or something?
Well, you're taking some of my ideas for my new page, but
Oh,
yes.
no. Oh, my bad.
No, I mean, you're cool because my hope would be that you would take the stuff from my page and put it on according to hip hop anyway. But I was thinking I wanted to do a re-review segment where we actually like go back and like actually properly rate albums that some publications, fucked up.
Well, maybe we can do a preview with it with Disc 2. And then,
No. I
give
like that
people-
idea.
Yeah.
I was actually going to start off with Liquid Swords or Doggy Style, 5 mic albums that got 4s.
Yeah.
But never. Cuban Links, anybody? The infamous. Can they interest you in
KC1.
Reasonable Doubt or Ready to Die? They got it all wrong.
KC1 with the Super Chat says, y'all rating by better music or hits? Because in 96, number 1 was It Was Written. Number 2, Hell on Earth. 3, Reasonable Doubt. 4, ATLiens. 5, All Eyes on Me. Why doesn't anyone bring up D.
hits?
Dot for his help on Life After Death?
By hits? Did he say by hits? And he had All Eyes on Me at 5?
He was asking, were we doing quality or hits?
Oh, I was about to say, because if we're going by hits, it's like...
Now, as far as the D. Dot comment, though, I think that a lot of people who produced under Hitman really didn't get their proper, props because it was a collective. And, I mean, Stevie J is one of those guys. I think that the fact that Stevie J did Notorious Thugs and did Breakdown for Mariah, like, that's some of the best stuff of its era. And we never talk about Stevie J as a producer of that time because he was a part of that collective.
No, I think Nasheem Myrick better than all of them. He's part of that collective
Exactly.
too.
He doesn't get a lot of
Myrick
props
a better
either.
beat maker than all them niggas, in my opinion.
I like Machine Myrick better than D. Dot,
Me too.
production-wise, yeah.
Nasheem did T.O.N.Y. and Who Shot You.
Yeah. Mad Max with the Super Chat says, Quentin basically did the club songs for Drake, like 10 bands. And I remember listening to it at the time and saying, he don't rap like that. Songs like, I'm sorry, 10 bands. I remember listening to it at the time and saying he don't rap like that. Songs like that, or Ride or D&D, and Drake's pen is so overblown. It didn't. Listen, I'm gonna say this about if you're reading this, it's too late. I felt like when I heard it, I was like, "Yo, I'm digging where he's going." It didn't sound like what I heard before from him. Mad Max clarified with the Super Chat. He says, "And 10 Bands was never some lyrical masterpiece." So I think that
10 Bands does go hard though.
it goes hard, and I think it's just how he's riding the track. I think it might be the rhythms,
You
which
know you
go
like
along
10
with
bands.
melodies.
You niggas know you like 10 Bands.
10 Bands is hard.
Stop playing with me.
What he was
All right?
like,
You like that shit.
I'll be gone till November. Then November came. Then I came right back on my worst behave. 6 God, put both hands together. That's amazing grace. 6 God, the suffers with the love. I need all the praise. I was like, yo, I ain't heard him rap like that. Period. But it makes sense. Jay Short with the Super Chat says Dolly Parton built Dollywood during doing exactly what you fellas described. She realized that he sings sounds better than someone else is singing them. Her songs sound better than someone else singing them. Yeah. That Whitney, I mean, listen, if you can give a song to Whitney and she turns it into what it turns into, And I'm gonna get to that when we talk about this Thriller thing too, because I'm a person that has collected like the Thriller demos over the years.
Mhm.
Thriller, the
Are we
greatest.
officially on Thriller Talk? Or we in
Yeah, we're
Thriller Talk?
officially on Thriller Talk now.
Okay.
Michael Jackson's Thriller, the greatest album ever in music, in my opinion, was released
That's
40
arguable, but I hear what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
It's definitely the biggest album ever. I don't know if it's the
highest
greatest. It's the
selling
biggest.
album ever, possibly the most important album ever,
Agreed.
and possibly the best album ever was released 40 years ago today. Now, I'm a person who's collected like the Thriller demos over the years, and speaking to our ghostwriting and giving songs to singers from songwriters conversation. I've heard those songs that the person who originally did Human Nature, or who originally wrote the song, because Michael actually wrote "Girl Is Mine," "Billie Jean," "Beat It," and "Want to Be Starting Something." But "Human Nature" was written by, I think, Mike Patello or something, I believe. And I've heard the demo of that, and you can look it up on YouTube. It's out there. They didn't include this in the 40th anniversary disc, by the way, and I'm gonna get to that too. But when you hear how skeletal that record sounds and the song sounds with the original writer singing it, and then you hear what it sounds like when Michael sings it, there's a difference. And I think that's the big difference between quote unquote ghostwriters in rap and like songwriters in, other genres per se.
You mind if I step in?
Yeah, go
briefly?
ahead.
Part of what makes Michael Jackson so special, his ear for what he is hearing on the record, vocally. If you go listen to the tracks where somebody else is singing before Mike, reference-wise, you can go to the Thriller sessions, you can go all the way up to Invincible with Butterflies. Well, Mike's just better. He hearing something different in terms of how he can style it, lay it, finesse it, stack it. It's different when Mike gives it to you. It is different. There's levels to this shit. Keep going.
Well, this is what I'm basically talking about this for. And again, I want to celebrate Thriller. And it's crazy because me being the super Michael Jackson fan and music fan that I am, I didn't even know when that 40th anniversary album came out. It came out like 2 weeks ago. Ron Bay hit me up. Shout out to Ron Bay. He was like, yo, you heard this this Michael Jackson 40th anniversary deluxe? I was like, nah. I mean, I thought it was coming out closer to the date that it actually came out, which would have been today. And honestly, if we keep it a buck, it should have came out last Friday, which would have been Black Friday, but whatever. And I'm going to get to that in a second. And I'm like, okay, why are they putting this out so early? And then you see things like the AMA cancellation of Chris Brown's performance, and Sierra jumping in there saying that she was a part of the performance too. The AMA's canceled this performance in promotion for this album for seemingly no reason. They still haven't explained what it was, and they left it up to public innuendo to think that this was somehow connected to Chris's past. You got that. Then you have the fact that they were supposed to do a Thriller documentary for this 40th anniversary. That got canceled. You got the fact that this thing hadn't been promoted on anything, no, morning television, nothing. This is Thriller. We're not talking about some basic album. We're talking about the greatest selling album of all time. And on top of that, when they put out the record, they put it out 2 weeks early. No promotion, and they're not talking, the crazy part to me, they're not talking to Quincy Jones at all. Where is Quincy? They talk to Quincy about any and everything that's going on in the world. They'll have Quincy pull up, gossip about folks. You're not talking to Quincy Jones on the 40th anniversary of Thriller. So somehow, somewhere down the line, this whole release for this Thriller 40 was clearly sabotaged on every promotional level. Now, the numbers came in, and this is kind of what put my antennas up. The numbers came in, and it was number 7. And I'm sitting here like number 7, and most people didn't even know it was out. They did no promotion for it. And honestly, they did a botched up job on the actual music that's on the 40th anniversary. But on top of that, no promotion, canceled the Chris Brown performance. And it just seems like sabotage, and I just can't understand why a record company would sabotage a 40th anniversary for the highest selling album of all time. And I thought about it, and I know exactly why they sabotaged it. Because in my personal opinion, if they would have actually had that Chris Brown performance with Ciara and at the AMAs, they would have actually had Quincy Jones go out there and talk about memorable moments of Thriller. They would have actually had the documentary with behind the scene footage of a lot of those videos that we've never seen behind the scene footage of, like the Billie Jean video, a remastered version of the behind the scenes Thriller concept. And honestly, they could have done a lot of that promotion like right before Halloween to get people ready for that, because every Halloween people are playing Thriller like crazy anyway, but they didn't do any of that. So if they would have did those things, in my personal opinion, this thing would have been number one, not just this week, but next week, the following week, the week after that, possibly for a whole nother year. And it makes me think that even back in the day, they weren't able to get Thriller off the charts to actually get anybody some room. I personally feel like they purposely sabotage not only the actual album when it comes to the bullshit remixes they put on there and the demos that they left off. They didn't put Hot Street on there. They put songs on there that were from the off the wall fucking sessions. They put songs on there that weren't even from the Thriller sessions. They did all of that and botched the release purposely so that the Taylor Swifts can live on the charts. What would it look like in 2022 if we look back and we see that Michael Jackson was doing more numbers than everybody in 2022 and then 2023? I guess they wouldn't be able to run with that Harry Styles narrative that he's the new king of pop.
Fair for me to jump back in?
Go ahead.
The first thing that I would like to add or piggyback off of is that I believe I've gone on this show on a multitude of times, Mike, and I've spoke to some systemic and institutional racist things occurring that you can kind of go back for and see with your common eye and ask yourself, well, hey, why and how are those things happening? So when I am coming up here and I'm speaking to systemic and institutional racism and how it transcends across all lines, even into the music business, well, welcome to the party. So everything that I'm talking about is institutional and systemically designed. And I totally agree with everything that you're saying. Now, I do want to temper some of your expectations a little bit. I can remember when Michael Jackson passed, and so can you. And it was the year my daughter was born. And everything shot up to number one on iTunes, and it stayed there for a while. It wasn't going to stay there for a year, though, Mike. It was probably going to stay till Mariah took over for Christmas like she always does. So I'd probably say it was probably going to take over for 3 or 4 weeks. Possibly. And also understand, too, if we got 90s niggas having streaming issues, oh, buddy.
Well, see, now this is the difference with Michael, though. Like, I got friends that got small kids, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the audience have the same thing. Like, these kids weren't even around when Michael Jackson was alive. They're Michael Jackson fans. They know the choreography.
Mike's worldwide, so you're going to see the spike.
Exactly, and the spike is really, if they were really trying to sell this thing, the spike would be in the visuals and and just revamping the visuals, because from what I'm understanding, they made a high quality version of the Beat It video, and I think a new high quality version of the Thriller video. And I think there are ways to even enhance that, not to mention the Motown 25 performance. There's ways to actually sell this and have these numbers going crazy. But again, I think that the Chris and Ciara performance, that was going to put a battery in the back of this whole rollout, and they didn't want that to happen. Did you see the clip of that Chris Brown and Ciara performance and the practice and the rehearsal? That shit was crazy.
No, let me say what I have to say. Yes, the two best dancers of this generation, respectively, male and female. Right. Let me submit something to you. This is what I mean when I go back to the systemic and institutionalization of it, though, Mike. It's not in what they did, which is the watered down subpar product that really didn't even belong to Thriller being attached to it and then being projected and presented to us as a rehash. It's in what could be done that wasn't done that shows you the systemic and the institutional racism exists. It's never in what is done. You have to understand, it doesn't become systemic and institutionalized by it being blatant.
Who made these damn
remixes? So it's
remixes?
going to look packaged up, but here's how you know that it's going on. And you actually spoke to some of it and kind of gave some truth to it yourself. And so let's unpack it. Do you understand? I mean, and I'll say this, Mike, and we both know this because we are literally born around the time Thriller was being made. So we literally grew up on Thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many ways there are to digitally remaster and break up Mike's videos?
Exactly.
And break up his great performances? Mike, listen to what I'm about to say. The album video performances, like the stuff that he actually made on his albums, the actual worldwide tour footage, the behind the siege footage, the performances, all the Q&As, all the family shit, all the Jackson 5 stuff, the Motown 25. Here's the reality of the matter, and here's how you know it's real. It applies to Mike on the highest level because he's been the biggest star and the biggest earner this game has ever seen, period. Well, if they don't want to get their shit together and sell Mike shit, but Mike, like I be pulling up here and saying, because I do a podcast with my boy Andrew, Mirror Music, but Bob Dylan and the Beatles and Queen and the Stones, you get what Pink Floyd, Tom Petty, Joni Mitchell, Janis Joplin, the way they get edified and like their shit gets kicked out and redone for like mass consumption, not just once, but 2, thrice times, Mike, 3 times, thrice with it.
Thriller funded the whole music industry.
Hold on, the biggest selling of all time.
Yeah.
We can't enhance the videos and repackage it and re-release it with the videos as a bare minimum on a bare minimum. Like just repackaging and redigitizing the video is enough to make it
a footage that we've already
in terms
seen.
Of sales contender again. Just the visual aid of it all over again for a new generation. So when I'm speaking to the systemic and institutional nature, and this is what I mean. Well, if it applies to Mike, well, it applies to that shit that I've been saying about Nas, and it applies on down the line. Because if they'll do it to Mike with Thriller, you feel what I'm saying? If they'll do it to Mike with Thriller, like, understand nobody is safe. Look at what's happening to Prince's estate.
Yeah. This is what I want to say, too. And you're right about all of those things. I want people to understand that
institutional.
I want people to understand that Michael Jackson kept a camera on him at all times during that period. I think there's even some audio
that's ridiculous.
I think there's even some audio of him and Paul McCartney, kind of demoing out "The Girl Is Mine," where he said, we got the footage of this. We'll probably release it one day. He has footage of the studio sessions of Thriller. He has footage. Obviously, he's a dancer, so he had to get footage of his own home rehearsals when he was getting this stuff together, because he goes back and watches this stuff to perfect it. And these are things that these people have access to. These are things that these people refuse to actually glorify and put out there. I think they canceled the documentary. I don't know why they canceled the documentary, but I think the plans were to have these things in the documentary and have a full rollout. Like I said, if these things are in place, like you said, the bare minimum, high quality video, but I feel like at the bare minimum, get Quincy Jones on the phone on Good Morning America and let these people know this thing is out here. Let him tell some stories about the Thriller sessions. At the bare minimum, let Chris Brown and Sierra do their performance on the AMAs. Come on, man.
And can I also say something to piggyback off the Quincy thing? It's like, oh, well, y'all ask him if he had sex with Marlon Brando, but well, y'all won't ask him about Thriller.
It's fucking crazy. And Thriller funded this industry.
Hold on. Systemic and institutionalized. It's like, no, they'll spend time wanting to hear about who he partied with rather than talk about Thriller. Like, listen to like the plugging and stuff. Like, and this is what I mean about how systemic and institutionalized it is. Mike, and I don't want to speak on it too heavy because it's Thriller and it should be about Thriller today. Mike, I'm such a Prince fan that I go back and I watch other artists who have been around Prince talk about Prince. Like, I pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
The stuff that other people who are artists, Mike, like Alicia Keys, Maxwell, like what these people have to say about Prince, I say to myself, if you were to just put these clips out and package it with the piano and mic tour and live footage, that shit would be the biggest selling album of the year. They'll never do stuff like that for him. They'll never do stuff like that for Mike.
And you know what? This is the thing.
They'll never do that shit.
You owe it. You owe it because this album not only funded the music industry in the moment, but
MTV owe Mike a check forever.
Exactly. This album is the reason why MTV is MTV. You know what I mean? Like Michael Jackson built MTV. But you know, I think that they still have a bug in their ass about the fact that Thriller also gave Michael the funds necessary to buy the Beatles catalog and to, you know, have basically Sony come and have to make a deal with him. Thriller is the cash cow that allowed Michael to have that type of revenue and that type of bread to be able to own the catalogs that he did.
So they petty on top of being racist is what you're saying?
That's what it seems like. Nas the GOAT with the super chat says, sorry, Mad Max. My Spotify wrapped for 2022 with Lupe Fiasco at number 1, Nas at 2, 3 Jay-Z, 4 Jeezy, and 5 K-Dot. Shout out to Nas the GOAT listening to Jeezy heavy. That was a surprise. Lupe and Jeezy. Let me see.
Like the balance. I don't like the K-Dot on there. You tripping. You tripping,
T Nitty with the super chat says, Game, Killer Priest, and UGK have the best double disc albums.
No, that's not true at all.
Mad Max says, the artist I saw the most was the NBA, Kodak, Future, Drake, Summer Walker, A Boogie, and either Jamaican or African artists. Let me get some of these other super chats and I'll finish this what I'm talking about. But again, man, they owe it. And I think that the fact that a lot of the people that we know were inspired by Thriller and owe their careers to Thriller are sitting back just letting this happen without saying anything.
Chris Brown posted it. He was like, my. Think about this.
Nas posted about it, and Nas is a free man.
Chris Brown rehearsal scene outdid the AMAs. Not connected to the culture, man.
Leroy Green.
That should let you know that it's institutionalized and it's systemic. That he can release a video and his following outperforms the demo that they're trying to pitch the bullshit to.
Well, this is the thing, AMAs. We need an explanation. No one gave an explanation, and I think that's fucked up.
Are we pulling up on the AMAs? Do we need to ride on that?
I think that's fucked up that not only did they do this to sabotage Michael's release or the Thriller 40 release, but they also let the backlash hit Chris unnecessarily. You got people bringing up stuff that happened with Chris like 10-something years ago when it wasn't even about that, clearly. Because if it was about that, then they would have just had Sierra do the performance. You know what I mean?
I think it might be time for a pull-up.
You know what I mean? That's fucked up. Y'all need to tell people, give people a real explanation of why that performance got canceled. Because you got dancers, you got choreographers, you got people who spent all kinds of time, effort, energy, money, and money that they would have been getting, and they didn't even get a chance to go out there and perform it. This could have been somebody's big break. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is even deeper than Chris and all that. The people who were performing with Chris, that could have been their big break to get out there on the AMAs and show what they were doing.
You want to know what?
Canceled that on some bullshit? Really?
That kind of pissed me off that you said that, because you want to know what? I actually know somebody down here. She's a young lady. She's on Candy and Todd show this past year. Dominique, the Variety. Like, no, I know Dominique. Like, I know Dom. Like, she's been bought out on the BET Awards for her. Like, that's a good look for somebody like her. And she's a caliber of dancer that she could be on stage with Chris Brown's team. You feel what I'm saying? Like, she's that caliber of dancer. And so, you know, it was time to pull
and not up. To mention,
the more you tell me, more it's really pissing
and
me off.
Not to mention who that, not to mention who that could have inspired. You know what I'm saying? Like, you taking things off the big screen for what reason? You need to say something.
Because they don't want the black empowerment. That's what I mean. When you told me you wanted to talk about the Thriller thing, I'm like, well, that goes back to that black empowerment and having black money, which goes back to that King's Disease 3 theme. And you see the consistency with the type of themes and the motifs that they keep down. Why would you keep Thriller down?
Well, you know what? They can try all they want to. At the end of the day, nobody's bigger or better than Michael Jackson. And they're just going to have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna be
Never
able to
going
erase.
anywhere. You can't erase.
You're not gonna
You
be
can't
able to
erase the
erase
world's
Michael
greatest
Jackson.
entertainer ever.
You're not. You just
You
can't.
can't erase the world's greatest entertainer ever, even if you try to put out subpar material. Think about it. This is the 40th anniversary. This is what you did for the 40th anniversary.
It's so crazy, Coop. I don't know if you heard it, but it's like as perfect as Thriller is for those 9 songs. They found a way to make that album trash. Like the remixes are awful. Like who made these remixes? Who put these remixes
Who told
on
you
here?
it was okay to make these remixes?
They pick
Did
songs
black
from
people make these remixes. Not being funny, but did black people make these remixes?
they pick songs from different sessions. Like they pick songs that weren't even in the Thriller sessions. You know what I mean?
Who?
I
Who
don't
is
know.
they?
I don't know. Sony.
We need to
Let's
pull
just
up.
say
We need to
Sony.
pull up and find out. We need to find out. No, for real, Mike. We need to start asking some questions. We need to find out who put this project together with this subpar ass remixes and material that we didn't ask for, quite frankly, because we happy with Thriller.
And they left off
Why they
stuff
lied?
like Hot Street, Slapstick. Now I'm glad that they included the demo for PYT. I think that was a really good inclusion. But what they did was they didn't put that with the rest of the demos. They had that back there where the remixes were. It made no sense. And they did like a 7-inch version of Human Nature, which was shorter than the one that's on the album. Why the fuck would I want a shorter version of Human Nature?
See,
you know what I mean?
And I'm being dead ass serious when I say this. Is like, well, we got white people in this country, quite frankly, Mike, they just don't understand why we won't get over slavery. But I'm going to turn around and start telling them, it's like, y'all ain't got over Michael Jackson buying the Beatles catalog. What the fuck you going to talk to me about? Because that's what this is really about. That's what this is about. Like you can say whatever you want, Mike. You can say whatever you want. I'm going to go tell you what the issue is. The issue isn't Michael Jackson. The issue isn't Thriller. The issue isn't the money that it accrued. It's the fact that he was smart enough and wise enough that with that money and with that power, he went and bought the strongest white music catalog that he could buy because he knew how this game really got played. And that's what they don't like. They don't like the education. They don't like the information. They don't like the power. They don't like the acquisition of it. This shit ain't even got nothing to do with Thriller. This got to do with a black man buying white people's catalog from him. And they literally been waiting for every moment and every turn to try to desecrate it because that's what this shit is about. This shit ain't even about Thriller. This is about the Beatles catalog. This is about white people doing white people shit in this country. The Beatles don't even belong to America. They're British.
Well, see, I think the other thing about that is
like, no, you got white people in America being racist about a group that ain't even from here. This is how bad it is here.
Well, I think on top of that, it's the
greatest
deal.
Nation in the world, my ass.
I think that it's the deal that he forced them into with the catalog that he had. So Sony had to do that deal with him because they wanted at least half of what he had. So he's like, look, if you're getting half of what I got, I need half of what y'all got. And so he ended up owning half of Sony, basically.
Gang.
Leroy Green with the super chat. And Thriller is the album that allowed him to be able to do so. Leroy Green with the super chat says, Coop, review the Let's Get Free by Dead Prez. Or your channel and invite me so I can wear a dashiki. Leroy Green.
I think Revolutionary but Gangster's better than Let's Get Free, but we can rate both.
Oh man, I hadn't listened to those albums in a minute. Jay Shore with the super chat says almost every rapper who came out after All Eyes on Me is in the image and the theme of Tupac that Tupac presented on All Eyes on Me. It may not be hip hop's best album, but it's the greatest. It transcended West Coast bias. You know what? I think you're right. I think that the level of impact, it's really hard pressed to find an album that was as impactful as that in the 90s because that whole image that we get of Tupac on a mainstream level comes from All Eyes on Me. It's not Me Against the World. It's not Machiavelli.
No, you're
it's
right.
not. It's All Eyes on Me. Frank Wizard with the super chat says Michael can't even rest in the grave peacefully. It's a dirty game. Yeah,
I was just thinking the same thing.
The man's
literally
been gone.
Was thinking the same thing. The man
man's
can't even
been gone
rest
for
peacefully.
13
Look what
years.
you're doing about Thriller.
Yeah, the man's been gone for 13 years and they're still desecrating him, man. Michael Williams with the $20 super chat. Appreciate the love. He says, how big of a factor is Nas' activity level in this run that he's on? In my opinion, he improved with each project. Is his pen getting sharper because he stays in the studio? Since you two are rappers, I want to hear you speak on this. I think he's in the zone, and that's why I don't feel like
You reach the
he's going to
zone.
be
Yep.
stopping anytime soon. Really, I mean, why cut it off when you're in the zone? And you know, you don't want to cut it off when you fall off or you're cold. But at the same time, I doubt that. I mean, clearly from this 21 song, what I got from it was the fact that yeah, his pen is ready, and he's ready to write whenever, however, record. Let's go. Let's get in the booth. He probably recording some new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he has. I know that for a fact. I know that he's recorded new stuff. He's
Okay.
already recorded a
Inside.
new album's worth of material damn near, Mike.
Inside info. Ray Reynolds with the super chat says, I don't doubt you brothers aren't privy to this, but if not, check out Dick Gregory's comments on Michael's insurance policy on his last tour. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, man. I mean, all of it comes together.
Oh, we all know what if it's Dick Gregory talking, I know exactly what that conversation sounds like.
And we also know that even, you know, the fact that he was supposed to get everything back from Sony in 2009. So, you know.
You know, let's talk about, first of all, that 35-year publishing thing. It's funny how Prince and Michael Jackson dissipated before the 35 years of Thriller and Purple Rain.
Yeah.
We're just gonna throw that out there. Like literally.
It's a coincidence.
Yeah, it's a coincidence. Okay, we're gonna act like it ain't no conspiracy going on.
It's a coincidence.
Yeah, it's just total coincidence.
Unfortunately.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Right, total coincidence though.
Jay Short with the super chat says, we need to stop telling ourselves all businesses exist solely to make a profit. Some executives value being on code against us as much as profit. It's true.
No.
I mean, because at the end of the day, if they were in the business to make money, this Thriller 40 would have been a huge opportunity to do so. They were willing to lose a whole lot of money or not make a whole lot of money just so this wouldn't fly.
Think about how strong that is. I told you, I was like, the institutional and the systemic nature of it isn't in what you do see them do, it's what they don't do. Think about this. They will cost themselves money to make sure that this loses its stature and its placement over time.
Yeah.
Like, think about this.
Legacy
What
is
makes
everything.
this country go is the capitalism and the socioeconomic nature of it, but they will halt that. About this album and this black man, that is how you know it is systemically and institutionally racist. Right there. They'll stop the money flow.
Yeah.
Think about this. They'll stop the paper chase about it. Now,
Where
what
is
about that as
Quincy,
American,
man?
except for the fact that it's racist?
You know, where is Quincy? And I think that, you know, it's unfortunate because the four major players on this album,
When they stop the money, Mike, they don't stop the money when it comes to killing niggas.
Yeah.
But when the nigga dead and it's time to edify him and put up the biggest selling album of all time, they'll get quiet as fuck. It's what you don't do. Kill a nigga real quick when he alive.
the four major players on this album were Michael, Quincy, Rod Temperton, and the engineer. I'm tripping right now. He just passed recently. It'll come to me in a second. Help me out in the chat. And the only person alive is Quincy, man. And Quincy is up there. Why are you guys not talking to Quincy? I have a big problem.
They
with
probably
that.
pull up on Quincy and ask him some Frank Sinatra questions before they'll ask him about Mike. You feel
They're not
me?
going to ask him anything. At this point, like,
They'd be like,
if you're not going to
how'd
talk
that
to
early
Quincy,
days go with Sinatra?
if you're not going to talk to
Thriller.
Quincy,
It's like, oh yeah, I made Thriller, bitch.
if you're not going to talk to Quincy in the 40th anniversary of Thriller, you have no plans on talking to him about Michael Jackson or Thriller again, seriously. You know what I'm saying? Bruce Sweeten is who I'm thinking about.
Can I tell you the
Bruce
truth? You wanna
Sweeten
know
was the
what's
other
real?
one. And shout out to Bruce Sweeten because he stayed with Michael even after, you know, him and Quincy weren't working with each
You
other.
wanna know the truth? We just gonna call a spade a spade. You know why they not interviewing him about Mike?
Because he'll tell the truth.
And they waiting for him to pass on, Mike.
It's unfortunate, man.
How old
That's
is
all.
Quincy now? Pushing 90, ain't he?
Pushing 90.
Yeah, they
And
waiting
I
for him
hope
to
he
pass,
makes
Mike.
it.
That's why they're not interviewing him now.
I hope he makes it to the 50th anniversary, but my God. You know what I mean? We just lost Bruce Sweeten. We just lost Rod Temperton.
Listen,
you
they
know
know
what I mean?
that
Like, come on.
I mean, he's pushing 90. Now, we hope that he makes it to the 50th. But we know that that's not promised.
Yeah.
But you don't think that there's something a little bit funny about somebody the stature of Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson, and it being the 40th anniversary of the greatest selling album of all time, and they don't pull up on OG for just a
Crazy.
few bars?
It's crazy,
Tell
man.
me that this is not systemically and institutionally racist. Don't tell me that the American Music Awards ain't in on it. Don't tell me this industry's not in on it. And don't tell me that this country is the greatest country in the world.
The
Okay? That's some
cancellation,
bullshit.
the
That's some
cancellation,
bullshit.
well, the cancellation at the AMAs is what kind of had me like, okay, that's
That's that
weird.
bullshit.
And the cancellation and the Quincy thing, I'm like, yeah, something's going on. Mad Max of the Super Chat says, nah, I was a huge MJ fan, and he was 10 years past his peak when I was born. I stole my mom's and pop's greatest hits double disc to bump. Caught the switch though. Mom still got that disc, so Mike is not lying. Yeah, I mean, people of all ages would have been gravitating to this because the stuff that he did was timeless and ageless, and the choreography and what I loved what Chris was doing with the choreography that they did. If you hadn't seen it, check it out on probably YouTube or whatever. Now they updated those that choreography that Mike and them did, so
Yeah.
that a current generation could relate to it even more.
Yeah.
So this shit was gonna fly, man. And really,
No,
if
that's
they
why
wanted to
they
be
knew it was
real,
gonna fly.
if
Chris
they,
Brown and Sierra were behind it. It's Thriller.
Jay Short,
All you have to do, hold on. All you have to do for our generation and everybody that's literally, Mike, all you have to do for our generation, all the way back to our mothers and fathers' generation, is say Michael Jackson and say Thriller. And then you have today's generation, all you have to say is Chris Brown and Sierra. They're about to lock up the marketplace.
Exactly. They had to stop that. Jay
Right.
Short says Michael Eric Dyson was used to shade Mike too. Yeah, I think we talked about that in one of our
We've already
earlier
talked
shows.
about. We've already talked
And anybody-
about Michael Eric Dyson.
this is what I
come
will
back to
say.
us. How about that?
I want
How
to
about you come
reiterate to the people who might not have seen that show. For anybody of Michael Eric Dyson's age bracket, because he's in my mom's age bracket, for you to sit there and say Beyonce is better than Michael Jackson, and you lived through the Jackson 5, you lived through Off the Wall, you lived through Thriller, you lived through Bad, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Whenever you want to come back to the barbecue, like right now, you don't have an invitation. We don't want to see your black ass till you rectify.
Because Beyonce herself wouldn't say that.
Right.
And not on
barbecue
some
chicken
just
when you
respect, she just knows. Like, you know what I mean?
make the barbecue sauce from scratch, nigga, so that we know that you in here.
Jay
All
Short
right.
with the super chat says Jay Short says they want MJ's estate to be liquidated. They are limiting the business and the money making opportunities. I could see that. That's what it seems like. If you're not trying to make money on the biggest selling and the highest selling album of all time, I don't know what to tell you.
Hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. How do most rappers make their money now that are independent?
Through shows?
No, through merch.
Oh yeah, through merch. Yeah.
So let me submit
Oh, the
something
Thriller
to
merch
you.
would have been crazy.
Thank you, Mike. You know how much
I got on
Mike,
some
I don't know
now.
about you. I'm paying money for the red jacket with the zippers.
Bruh.
Are you not?
Oh, definitely.
You breaking bread.
Which
ain't you?
one? The Beat It jacket or the Thriller jacket?
I want the Beat It jacket, personally.
I'm with that.
Mike, I got leather coats upstairs that I done spent big money on that I'm pretty certain would cost less than what they would charge me for the Thriller jacket.
Well, this is what they did. They got
Think about the demographic of doing merch for Michael Jackson at this stage. When people like us are massive fans and we came out the womb when Thriller came out for consumption. And think about the people who are 10 years, 20 and 30 years older than us that have retired with disposable income. We're talking about millions upon millions of dollars they left on the table. We ain't talking about
On
a nigga
purpose.
coming up on 750 G's. We talking about people leaving like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars on the table.
Yeah. And you know
In
what?
merch.
But Coop, they did some merch and it's
Merch.
trash. You got to see the merch that they put together. It's trash.
I'm
It
buying
look
the
like-
tacky ass shirt under the leather jacket in the Beat It video too.
It's
the
like
tacky ass, you know what I'm talking about, that tacky ass shirt? I want the shirt too, nigga.
it has like the Thriller font and it has like a regular 40 font. It's trash, man. It's like they didn't put any effort into it.
Better give me my Beat It jacket, stop playing with me.
T Nitty with the super chat says pound for pound, Game, Killer Priest, and UGK has less mid songs and more high moments. Don't think so, Coop. And verse, what he says, do a verses against your favorite double disc.
I love UGK. That double disc is not like that. The first one is pretty tough. The second one's just okay. And it's not even one of their 3 best albums.
I never heard anybody say that. about the UGK double disc, but
Nothing
respect.
against it. I mean, it got Swishes and Doja on it, and
Yeah.
no, it's got some stuff on there. The Game Belongs to Me is on there. I think it's on there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
no,
love
it's got
Game
some stuff
Belong
on there, but no. Respectfully.
Godfather with the super chat says, "Yo, y'all heard what Nas said? He says, know some gangsters that can buy the Beatles pub."
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I really call copping white and reing up.
yeah.
Yeah.
They got it back. Domenico with the super chat says, character holding their heads and their hands saying, "How's it going?" See what we got with the super.
Think about that. Think about the merch. Forget everything else. Think about the merch.
They didn't want to make money. The money would
You don't
further
like
the
money?
legacy
Hold
of
on.
this album.
So we got this capitalistic society that is based on money at every turn until it's time for black people to
It's
win.
based on something else, yeah.
Right.
Lex
right.
Diesel
It's
with the super chat says,
hold on, but I guarantee you every Beatles release, and I'm going to repeat this, these motherfuckers ain't from here. They're from across the pond.
it's about something
Let
else.
all their shit hit 40, 50, 60 years on the anniversary. Watch how America behaves.
Yeah. And they don't have none of the content that he has. He has
Watch how they talk about
behind-the-scene
Paul
footage.
McCartney, even to this day. You know when Paul McCartney got knighted, it made national news here.
Yeah. Lex Diesel with the super chat says, when MJ acquired the Beatles catalog, the industry went on an endless mission to take jabs at his legacy in every way, and the AMAs should be boycotted. I think
anyway, I didn't even know they existed until I found out there was a tribute performance. I didn't even know they were still real. I didn't know it was a thing.
This is the thing, though. I remember Game saying something along the lines.
The American Music Awards. I'm gonna say that again. American.
Right. I remember Game saying something along the lines of the fact that people should boycott. Well, all the black artists shouldn't have shown up to the AMAs that year in unity with Chris. But I think this wasn't just about Chris, and I think that every black artist out there who's watching this, or who's got people watching this, you need to understand that this wasn't about Chris. You need to not show up to that award show because they did this to Mike.
They did this to the champ.
They did this to Mike. They did this to Mike, who did nothing to nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. No matter how you want to spin that. And not only did they do this to Mike, they did this to Thriller. So regardless of whatever you feel about Mike or whatever you think or whatever, the music itself, this music got this industry to a level, and you got to respect that. And if they're not going to respect that, you shouldn't show up to their show.
No. Listen to what I'm about to say, because I'm not joking when I say this, and I want people to take this for what it's worth. When Chris Brown is making that post about how he got more views than the AMAs, you see, he knows that he's Chris Brown. And he knows that he'll never be Michael Jackson, because if that was going to happen, it would have happened. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's aware of that. But he's aware that even as Chris Brown, he's able to get more following than the AMAs. And so what needs to happen here, because I'm going to tell you exactly what they just tried to do. They tried to use this as a psychological buck-breaking moment for artists. This is one of those buck-breaking moments. It's like, yeah, we'll shit on Thriller too.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
To
let you know that it's not safe out here. And what artists really need to start doing is recognizing and realizing, because here's the thing, I don't always agree with Chris Brown, but I love that he shitted on them the way that he did. Like, yeah, he's like, y'all ain't even got my following. Like, fuck y'all. Like, and that's what everybody needs to do with bigger following than the AMAs. Because I'm going to tell you what, most of these black artists' followings are bigger than the AMA's following at this point. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like, oh, you want to do this institutional racism and the psychological buck breaking of artists? It's like, no. How about we say, fuck showing up to your show and supporting your shit since you sitting up here shitting on, think about it, Thriller?
I want to turn the camera on BET for a moment. I want to turn the camera on BET for a moment.
Thriller!
Because BET went out there and they posted that, we allowed Chris Brown to do his Michael Jackson tribute. Well, if that's the case, BET, why don't you air the performance that these people worked so hard for and put together then? in promotion for this album that's out there. Like, talk is cheap. It's cool that y'all aired something some years ago to help your award show, but this right here was in promotion for Thriller 40. So talk that big shit and air this performance that these people put together then, BET. Since,
All I have to
you know,
say to
you
that-
guys air this stuff, right?
All I have to say is that we need a real black network that's not owned by white people that actually does the things that black people needed to do here. And that ain't BET.
Do we need that though?
No, we do. We need it. Hold on. We need it right now for what's happening to Thriller. Yes, we do. Right now. Right now.
Well, we got Revolt, right? Why won't Revolt air it? They black owned, right? I mean, that's what they say. Game with the super chat says, my daughter is 13. MJ is her favorite. Not because of me. They have to alter the numbers. If kids were 2, here's the legacy. If kids were 2, hear these legacy acts, they would vibrate different. Definitely. It's the access, and they tried to stop the access, and the people who knew about it. Like I said, as a super fan, I didn't even know it came out because it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why is this coming out in the middle of November and not on the actual date? And back to what I was saying earlier, Black Friday would have been the perfect time to put this out, right?
Black Friday, Thriller,
that's where
40th anniversary. I don't know. How about a Black Friday sale? You can get the matching shoes and socks to go with the zipper jacket.
It came out today. The closest Friday to when it came out was Black Friday. So why wasn't this released on Black Friday? I need answers. Like, Sony, let me know why this wasn't released on Black Friday. AMAs, I need to know why this Chris Brown and Sierra performance was canceled. And television at large, all the morning shows, Today, Good Morning America, whatever. Why is nobody talking to Quincy? I just want to know.
I can tell you why, Mike. You see this black hand, right?
I mean, there's black people on TV, right?
What's the name of Ice Cube's first album?
The Most Wanted.
America's Most Wanted, right? How many K's he have up on there?
He had a few of them up there.
I believe he had 3.
Jay Short with the super chat says, when U2 did the Joshua Tree re-release, they made money off of that for 2 years. They're still eating off of the merch 3 years later and booked the world tour. The box sets were crazy and they went deep in the vaults. Yeah?
Mark, the Rolling Stones album that has like the lips on the cover, like every time they tour, that shirt pops up and everybody get rich. Just off that one shirt.
I just want questions answered.
Cool. They ain't got shit to do. They ain't got shit on a Thriller jacket.
Yeah. I just want answers to those questions. And again, I think that...
Quote, no, Mike, if I may, I'd like to quote Biggie Smalls from Gimme the Loot. Goodness gracious, the papers. Where the cash at? Where the stash at? Nigga, pass that.
Jay Short with the super chat.
This is America, right? This is Thriller, the biggest selling album of all time. This is how you know it's racist. This is the biggest selling album of all time worldwide.
Sabotage.
This is America, which is the most capitalistic, money-hungry country ever. There's literally 20, 30, 40, $50 million in merch sitting on the table. Fuck the music.
And not to mention footage. Like I said, the man had a camera with him everywhere he went.
Because he couldn't trust these white people. That's why he had a camera.
He knew he was going to document all this stuff. He knew what he was doing was special, and he was going to document everything. And again...
No, he knew they was trying to kill his black ass.
Well, that too. And he's a dancer, so he has to record his rehearsals so he can go back and look at them. It's like watching film as an athlete. Jay Short with the super chat says, Quincy's not speaking out because they got to him too. Well, all I want to know is...
You work for Frank Sinatra, so it's not like, you know.
Again, I want those questions answered, and I would like for artists, period. Artists who feel like they were ever inspired by Michael Jackson and who speak his name, y'all need to speak out on this, man, because the sabotage of this 40th anniversary is disrespectful, it's despicable, and, I don't even know where else to go with it, because when I actually listen to the product that they put on there, I never thought somebody could actually destroy a perfect album like that. They purposely did this. They purposely didn't put the good songs from the sessions that didn't make the album on there. They put the mid songs on there, and they put songs on there that weren't even in the Thriller sessions. How you putting songs that were in the Off the Wall sessions in there, but you're not putting Hot Street on there? Like, you could release Hot Street today, a song that was left off of Thriller, and that could be a hit. That actually should have been a leading single. I think it's very, very sad, man. And I don't want to put this on the estate. I'm putting this on Sony, period. Because Sony was the people that he was fighting with. And so the same people that he was fighting with to the end put this out. I think this is on them.
Who's Sony Music CEO?
I'm not sure. You know, they changed those companies so much.
Rob Stringer's been the head of Sony since 2017, April 1st.
Rob Stringer, we need some answers, man.
Oh yeah, Rob looking extra white in this picture too. Looking extra white. Yeah, I don't give no fuck. Like, this is blatantly racist. I don't care what anybody says. If anybody can show me that this isn't institutionally or systemically racist, please show it to me. I'd love to see
it's a coincidence, Coop.
It's very coincidental. I'm gonna tell you what though.
It was just a misstep.
I'm a believer, Mike. Believers don't believe in coincidence.
You know, they just dropped the ball somehow on the highest selling album of all time right after Halloween, and it's called Thriller. I mean, you know. The promotion for this could actually started a week before Halloween, really. Mm-hmm. Whatever, you know. All right. Well, I'm ready for Friday. I can't wait for this Metro Boomin album. I'm actually excited about this. This trailer did exactly what it was supposed to do. That song with Future at the end, shit was crazy, yo.
I mean, it's Metro and Future, so it's like,
I hope I'm not disappointed. But I think what we should do Friday, I think we should talk about that album. And I would like to talk about this too.
What? Pop?
Yeah.
Well, I'm always down for pop. You know, my favorite song on this too is Picture Me Rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, outside of listening to Picture Me Rolling and maybe Shorty Wanna Be a Thug, I ain't fucked with this too like that in a minute. And we have to be fair and audit the shit properly. West Coast pulled up on us today about All Eyes on Me. I like that though. That's that West Coast shit that I'm talking about. You see how they rode?
Mm-hmm. I love it.
All Eyes on Me, they're like, no. They're like, no, nigga, we don't play that shit out here.
Hey,
you niggas gonna listen to this too.
We're gonna go listen to it. Because you know what?
Hold on. Look, how long Pac been gone? Pac been gone since we was teenagers. See that fan base?
Well, see, that's the thing.
Hold on, no. Pac fan base still popping up on According to Hip Hop and showing out about All Eyes on Me Book 2 not getting its just due. That's what I'm talking about with Nas fan base.
We got to keep our legends alive, and
this is what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about with Nas fan base. Tupac been gone since we was teenagers. We got niggas pulling up about All Eyes on Me Book 2 today. He been gone since I was in high school and you were in high school. Mm-hmm. That's a fan base.
No, that's real.
Motherfucking supporting to the very, very end and past the end and beyond. Everybody on Pac level, I want everybody on Pac's level to get that type of treatment. That's what I'm talking about.
You know, I was listening to I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto the other day, the remix version.
It is beautiful.
It is beautiful. I listened to it like 3 times in a row. That second verse is powerful, man.
And now Bush can't stop the hit. I predicted the shit into Apocalypse.
When he's talking about Latasha and Rodney, like, yo, man. Mm-hmm. No, you know what? Nobody in rap was talking about Latasha Harlan's situation. And I didn't know what Pac was talking about because it got no media coverage back then.
That's why he was talking about it.
Yeah, and none of his rap peers were talking. I don't know if they were unaware of it, but he was the only one who spoke out about that bullshit situation, man. And it hits different when you actually know the situation now. And I feel bad that I didn't even know it then. But how could I? You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know the main part of being revolutionary, what it is, right? It's the unafraid nature.
Yeah.
It's the unafraid nature. It's like, no. Many are called, like, you can be intelligent. You can be well-spoken. You can have the looks. You can have the voice. You can have a lot of things. But mostly, you have to be unafraid. Pac was unafraid.
Yeah.
Malcolm X was unafraid. Dr. King was unafraid. Nat Turner's unafraid. Marcus Garvey is unafraid. Harriet Tubman's unafraid. W.E.B. Du Bois is unafraid. James Baldwin is unafraid. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You
It's
don't
one thing
move
to have
shit
a
in this
voice.
country as a black person by being afraid or by conforming to some standards and some norms. The standards and the norms ain't built out for you to survive. Not happily and with equity.
Well, you know what? When you're trying to play the game, you're always going to get played.
Right.
It's just what it is. You know?
What did I say on 27 Summers? More black CEOs. I've been saying he's been on this black empowerment kick the whole time. That's 27 Summers off KD1.
Well, not only is he preaching it, he's actually doing it. So, you know, he's making a lot of boss moves out here and killing it with the music. I think we'll end the show with this. Nas is clearly the greatest MC of all time. And not only is he the greatest MC of all time, he's the greatest MC in the game right now.
And you want no. This how it, and Michael Jackson is the greatest entertainer and stage performer and artist to ever live. And when the biggest selling album of all time is celebrating its 40th anniversary, it should be the talk not only of this nation, it should be the talk of music around the world because it's the
He's
world's
a global
greatest
icon. You got people in Japan and Moscow or whatever dressing like him and doing his choreography and on every continent in the world. There's nowhere you could go, even in 2022, and say Michael Jackson's name and they don't know who you're talking about. The man's been gone for 13 years. You could ask a 10-year-old who Michael Jackson is and they know.
Period.
It's insane. We're never going to have another one of those again. I know it might sting for the people who, for whatever reason, hate that fact. But yeah, you're not going to be able to manufacture another Michael Jackson or anything bigger than that. It's just not going to happen.
No.
All right. Well, we're going to get up out of here. I think I saw another super chat before we leave. Mints2 with the super chat says, what conscious hip hop are y'all up on? Oh, before we leave, did you see that West Side Gun and Black Star video? The Peppers video? Speaking of conscious rap, yo, I know we talk a lot about Talib on here, and I think we got to be fair and give flowers where flowers due. Talib killed that, and you're right. This is a Verse of the Year candidate. I love that video. Now, as far as the conscious community, this year, I'm going Black Star, Black Thought, yes. And Nas, I think he fits in that now too, but yeah, so that video was hard. I loved it.
So when I was saying that what they did on Peppers, I was like, hold on. I was like, this makes me question the album. That's what I'm talking about. That shit heat. I wasn't saying that disrespectfully to No Fear of Time. I know a lot of people think that I throw shade at Talib because I do. But I wasn't but I wasn't doing it there. His verse on Peppers is one of the 10 best verses this year. They showed out on that record. That record is one of the 10 best rap songs this year. It's a Song of the Year contender. It's a Verse of the Year contender. Hitler Wears Hermes 10 is an Album of the Year contender. That is the best song on that album. It's better than Science Class. It's beautiful.
I'm glad they shot a video for it too.
I'm not conscious, dog. I'm awake, dog. I'm doing great, dog.
And on that note, we out of here.